Before the second stage of Flying Thunder God, Namikaze Minato was just an ordinary genius compared to Uchiha Mikoto who owns Sharingan. It's normal to fail. Besides, Namikaze Minato did not use Rasengan. Haruki originally planned to wait until he learned the second stage of Flying Thunder God before rushing to the battlefield. But I didn't expect the situation to change suddenly. The next day, he got the news from Anbu that Konoha's white Fang Hatake was injured. You mean that when we were fighting Tsunade, the two Jonin from Cloud Shinobi Village did not know where they came from? With super speed and powerful attack, Hatake Shumo was injured and had to retreat? After Haruki finished reading the information, the first reaction was suspicion. How Cloud Shinobi Village is the whereabouts of Master Hatake Shumo? And the original book did not mention this accident. So, maybe it's his butterfly effect? Haruki thought a little bit. Initially, Sarutobi Hiruzen appointed Hatake Sakumo as the fine line commander, and Shimura Danzo did not object, so he vaguely felt that something was wrong. But at this time Jiraiya was not there, Tsunade refused because of the medical class, and Orochimaru did not go. After thinking about it, it seems that only Hatake Shumo has the highest strength and prestige. However, what the commander needs is wisdom. If assigned by Sarutobi Hiruzen, it is not the only choice. Can the two Jonin of Cloud Shinobi Village find out their identities? The two are burly in shape, thunder and lightning rushes between movement and silence. Not surprisingly, it is lightning-style chakra mode, but it is not third Raikage to have such a high level. Anbu speculates that it should be the next generation of Ai, cultivated by Cloud Shinobi Village. Then combination. It wouldn't be surprising if it were them. Haruki thought of the two's performance in the original book. Although it is a young version at this time, the joint efforts against Hatake Sakumo shouldn't be let down. Ui. This sentence still applies in the Hokage world. Namikaze Minato was called Golden Glitter in the Third Ninja Wars because of his unparalleled speed. Can't catch up with him, can't beat him and can't escape. But Hatake Sakumo cannot die. If the Third Ninja War hadn't been for the sudden emergence of Namikaze Minato, Konoha would have already been defeated. The reason is nothing more than the lack of high-level combat power. The huge Konoha, except for Namikaze Minato, can't come up with the second outstanding powerhouse. I know, I will rush to the battlefield as soon as possible. Haruki stood up, and when Anbu left, he asked someone to inform Minato and the three, but he went to the ninja school. Tsunade office. He quietly appeared behind Tsunade. Guess who I am? Haruki covered her eyes and said with a smile. Apart from you, who still plays this naive game? Tsunade was too lazy to guess, and said, next time, change your voice first. Mistaken decision. Haruki released her hand, placed it on her shoulder, and squeezed it lightly, seeing the book on her desk inadvertently. He was a little surprised. This is the history I compiled? When have you been interested in these two? Tsunade squinted his eyes slightly. Is it just boring? Haruki turned her swivel chair and looked at her. It's not a good boy to lie. You are so annoying. Tsunade glared at him. I think of you, so I want to see it. Is this answer satisfactory? Haruki smiled triumphantly. In a sense, this kind of straightforward remarks is even more exciting. Tsunade raised her brows. Damn it, with a similar smile. Thinking of this, she slapped his forehead fiercely. Haruki burst into tears suddenly. When can your bad problem be corrected? Why do you want to change? Tsunade folded his arms around his chest and stared at him. A momentary Q-bomb made Haruki's eyelids twitch slightly. The abyss, the abyss. He glanced at his face unchanged. I think if this continues, my forehead will become bigger and it will affect my handsomeness. Tsunade's eyes twitched. What an unreasonable and strange reason. Resisting the urge to give him one more time, she asked, what can I do for you? Of course I miss you. Haruki wanted to bury it in her arms. But it was a pity that Tsunade didn't give him a chance, and his index finger was pressed on his forehead again. Haruki showed an innocent expression. Do you think you were wrong? Don't think I don't know what you guys want to do? Tsunade gave him a blank look. This is the office, please be serious. Isn't the office more exciting? Haruki said subconsciously, but when he saw Tsunade's sinking face, he hurriedly backed away. I'm kidding. Tsunade straightened his face, put his right leg on his left leg, and the skirt fell down, exposing his inadvertent long legs to the air. The whole person is capable and quite powerful. Let's talk about it. What are you doing here? It's okay, just go to the battlefield. I took 3 students and let them see and see. I'll go with you, Tsunade said without hesitation. What are you doing? Ching Shu took a few steps forward and squeezed her face. On the battlefield of 1,000 people, you won't be dispatched, the legendary Sanin. Besides, I am a medical ninja. Unless Konoha's people are all dead, which round will I get? Tsunade's face remained solemn. She stood up and hugged Haruki tightly. Feeling the uneven body curve in his arms, Haruki has no distractions. Don't worry. Master Go Ming, I'm talking about. It's so ugly. Tsunade was amused by him and looked up at him. HMPH, remember what you said. Otherwise. Haruki directly blocked her lips, parted after a long time. He touched her chin, smiled and said, don't set up a flag before the war. Tsunade gasped, cheeks flushed, and curiously asked, what does this mean? Aren't a lot of people just love talking before they fight? Haruki said nonsense. People who like to talk nonsense can't win. I'm not nonsense, Tsunade said dissatisfied. Tell you a little secret. Love words can increase your winning rate. Do you want to try? Haruki said with a turn of his eyes. Do you think I'm a fool? Tsunade raised his hand and shot his forehead. Hiss. Haruki took a breath and made some contribution to climate warming. Someday he will have to avenge his forehead. Humph, use another head. When are we leaving? Let's leave in a while. Many people have been injured and I have to pass. Haruki teased her hair behind her ears, whispering warmly. So fast? Tsunade thought he was leaving tomorrow. Yeah. It's a ninja anyway, it's not easy to shirk the task or something now. Haruki smiled, and after staring at her for a moment, he turned and walked outside the door. Wait. Tsunade stopped him. What's wrong? Haruki turned to look at her. Is there anything else I haven't explained? However, it's better to say less about flag. Tsunade hesitated, ran up to him, stood on tiptoe, leaned to his ear, and whispered, I like you and wait for you to come back. Eh? Haruki was taken aback. This Nizi wouldn't believe his nonsense. Think it can really improve your winning rate, right? The problem is that your love story is too poor. Konoha Gate. Uzumaki Kushina looked at Haruki a little tangledly. His appearance at the moment is extremely ordinary. Not ugly, but in the slightest inconspicuous. Throwing in the crowd, there is basically no splash. Popular face. Teacher, why do you use this face? Too many acquaintances. Haruki shrugged, who made him too active in previous years. Not long after I took Namikaze Minato out last time, I was spotted. Although he is not afraid of anything with his strength, it is not conducive to the growth of the Minato trio. You brought kunai and shuriken, right? Bring it, the three said together. Apply this bottle of poison to your ninja. Haruki took out 3 glass test tubes. Be careful, don't learn Orochimaru, like licking weapons, it will kill you. He is not an upright person. What's more, ninja was originally a profession in the shadows. There are no other methods. If using poison can increase your winning rate, why not use it? Namikaze Minato is not hypocritical. Smear carefully on the blade. Because it is a battlefield, you must be careful when you use poison to seal your throat. Haruki reminded again. He didn't want to let himself go to death. I know, I'm not so stupid. Uzumaki Kushina raised her small fist. Namikaze Minato and Uchiha Makoto nodded silently. After completion, the 4 immediately rushed to the western front of the country of fire. The dim sun shines on the Konoha village camp on the hillside. The atmosphere at this time is very solemn. Haruki looked around for a week, frowning. The previous defeat was more tragic than he thought. After showing the certificate, he was able to see Hitaki Tsukumo lying on the hospital bed. His face was pale, his body was covered with white bandages, and he could vaguely perceive the tyrannical thunder attribute chakra. Retreat. Haruki waved his hand. The 4 medical ninjas beside Hitaki Tsukumo looked at each other. Who are you? Haruki suddenly remembered that he was changing his face. But he cannot disclose his true colors for the time being. I am a student of Haruki-sama. He asked me to bring a secret medicine, combined with special medical ninjutsu, enough to cure Hitaki-sama. I see. The 4 of them didn't doubt that he was there. If they could come in front of Hitaki Tsukumo, their identity would definitely be fine. After leaving, Haruki winked at Namikaze Minato. He immediately used chakra to form a simple visual blockade. Haruki stood in front of the sleepy Hitaki Tsukumo, his hands began to seal. Suddenly, several light green chakras spread around him with him as the center. After a while, a complicated technique was formed. This is the cure and regeneration technique? Namikaze Minato recognized the technique, and a shocked expression appeared on his face. To be honest, although he has been with Haruki for nearly 2 months, he has never seen him use large-scale medical ninjutsu. And this technique originally required a medical class, at least 6 or 7 ninjas, and it took a long time to perform. But this is only the beginning. After that, Haruki performed several A-level medical ninjutsu in a row. The Minato trio were even more stunned. This terrifying chakra. Far more than normal Jonin. Haruki didn't pant, and put her hands away. Sakumo, I didn't expect it to be like this when we met again. Are you Haruki? Hitaki Sakumo sat up, his white hair curled up indiscriminately, but he was more concerned that his injuries were completely healed. Apart from Tsunade, only Haruki can do this. Haruki nodded. Tell me about the current situation. Hitaki Sakumo sighed and looked apologetic. It was my mistake that caused the bad situation. Now is not the time to admit mistakes. Haruki knew that Hitaki had the so-called samurai spirit, otherwise he would not commit suicide because of a failed mission. After a slight shock, Hitaki began to talk about the battle. Haruki originally knew something through Anbu's report, but he knew the generality and the details were unclear. In short, we Konoha now rely on terrain to hide, and we changed camps every 2 days, barely resisting Sanagakure's offensive. But the most troublesome thing is Cloud Shinobi, hidden in the dark. It will be difficult for us without knowing their whereabouts for 1 day. Organize a resistance. These two are too mobile, don't blame you. After Haruki finished listening, he said in a deep voice, the top priority is that Hyuga's house in the eastern front guard Cloud Shinobi village should be transferred. But after the transfer, will Cloud Shinobi village take this opportunity to attack? Hitaki asked worriedly. Against the mobile ninja, Byakugan is naturally the most suitable. It is equivalent to a perspective mirror plus a telescope. Traces can be detected from a long distance. It is also true that they were sent to the Western Front to pay attention to the actions of Cloud Shinobi Village. In the previous years of war, Cloud Shinobi Village did not participate in the war. But it doesn't mean it will sit idly by. In the original work, Uzumaki Kushina was taken captive by Cloud Shinobi Village, which was about this time period. It shows that they had a small-scale intervention in the latter part of the Second Ninja War. Will not. Haruki thought for a while and said, since they only sent 2 people, it proved that they just wanted to fish in troubled waters. But this is already a prelude. In a few years, the Third Ninja World War will break out completely. I would suggest Master Hokage to transfer the Uchiha clan to the Western Front, Haruki added. It is difficult for Konoha now to have reinforcements unless he graduates all the little guys from the ninja school ahead of schedule. But there is no such degree yet. Hitaki Sakumo has no other way, he can only agree. After talking about the matter, let me introduce to you my 3 apprentices. Haruki waved his hand and smiled, Namikaze Minato, Uzumaki Kushina, Uchiha Mikoto. Hitaki Shumao was startled slightly. The combination of these 3 is really subtle. It is indeed Haruki. After the 3 politely greeted them, Haruki and Hitaki said goodbye and led his apprentice to pick up the task. B-level mission, find out where Sanagakure's supplies are stored. The supply of more than 1,000 ninjas is not a trivial matter, so there must be one or several hidden warehouses for storage. Haruki unfolded the map and drew a line. According to the news, San Shinobi's activities are probably in this area. If we want to inquire about the news, we have to touch it. But there will definitely be many battles. You have to be careful. Teacher, is our first assignment a B level? Namikaze Minato scratched his head. If he remembers correctly, the 3 of them just graduated, right? Why do you go with me to perform D-class and C-class tasks, take care of the wounded or logistic transportation? Haruki said. Forget it. Namikaze Minato shook his head quickly. Teacher, won't you go with us? Uchiha Mikoto heard Haruki's implication. With me, you will rely on me habitually. Haruki threw the quest scroll to Namikaze Minato. Minato, you become the captain now, go, don't disappoint me. He watched the 3 leave. When no one noticed, 3 small white Katsuyu crawled into their clothes. Haruki recalled the news from Orochimaru and came to a camp. Wei Luhu. Who? Bei Luhu gloomily looked at the incoming Haruki. Master Danzo sent me to help you. Haruki spoke blankly, imitating the tone of the roots. With his intervention, Shimura Danzo did not cooperate with Orochimaru in this life, but with Bailuhu instead. Another scientific ninja, Orochimaru's friend. Due to limited talents, he invested in human experiments. The ghost Yala technique he studied is very interesting, capable of fusing the blood in the boundary. However, judging from his relatively healthy appearance, he probably hasn't merged with the blood succession boundary yet. Help me. Bailuhu didn't have much doubt. Few people knew about his cooperation with Shimura Danzo. Well. You need blood succession boundary, and I have a way for you to get Byakugan. Are you here to tease me? After listening to Haruki's words, Hiryu couldn't help but sneered. The Hyuga clan has always lived in Konoha, and the number is limited, and the branch house is protected by caged bird. How can it be Byakugan? Under normal circumstances, it is naturally impossible. Haruki explained that Danzo-sama has arranged everything. As long as you do, your wish will be fulfilled. What is the arrangement? Seeing that he didn't seem to be telling lies, Beiluhu asked urgently. The stronger the blood succession boundary of his ghost Yala technique fusion, the stronger the final result he will get. In the original work, he chose several blood succession boundaries, belonging to a relatively common category. After all, with his strength, it is difficult to get top bloodline limits such as Sharingan and Byakugan. Of course, the risks are great. If Ghost Yala technique is so easy, wouldn't it be invincible in the world? But Haruki was very interested. Theoretically, the Ghost Shoot Luo technique can merge the bleeding and continue the net. Because of the 2 Jonin of Cloud Shinobi Village, Hitaki Shumo will be transferred back to Hyuga's team. There are about 40 people. But these people are all branch houses, what's the use? Beiluhu interjected. Listen to me. Haruki glanced at him faintly, and continued to say in his slightly unhappy eyes. The plan is very simple, pretending to be Sand Shinobi or Cloud Shinobi, kidnapping these 40 people and sending the news back to Hyuga's house so that they can exchange it with someone from the clan family. Are you really here to entertain me? Hiryu's gloomy voice sounded. Not to mention whether the 40 Hyuga members can be kidnapped, the members of the clan will never be exchanged. Why is it impossible? Haruki shook his head. These 40 people are almost the elites of the branch house. If they are not saved, the branch house will surely be in chaos. With the caged bird branch house, I can't turn over the waves. Bailu thought for a moment. You should know that there are not many people in the Hyuga clan. But losing these 40 people will hurt their vitality, and morally, they will be completely at a disadvantage. As long as Danzo-sama works a little, it can give a considerable blow to the Hyuga family. So this is the purpose of Lord Danzo. Shimura Danzo understood Shimura Danzo's plan. The Hyuga family has always been a staunch supporter of Sarutobi Hiruzen, and one of the so-called Konoha's strongest families. If Hyuga's family fails, you can get the Byakugan you want, right? Hearing this, Beiluhu thought for a moment. In any case, the result is very beneficial to me. But the question is, how do you kidnap 40 Hyuga homes with Byakugan and several Jonin? Haruki did not answer. He stretched out his hand, and a piece of wood popped out in the doubtful eyes of Beilu. Wood style? Beiluhu's face was shocked, and he couldn't help exclaiming, Danzo, did he succeed? Naturally it was unsuccessful. Although Shimura Danzo has the cells of first Hokage Senju Hashirama, how could he succeed without Orochimaru's help? Haruki nodded. Wood style can even control 9 tails. Are these 40 Hyuga ninjas more troublesome than 9 tails? Of course it's impossible. Beiluhu breathed a sigh of relief, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. If you need me, just ask. It's very simple. The ninjas of Hyuga's family were transferred back to find the mysterious Cloud Shinobi, and we can pretend to be Cloud Shinobi and lead them to our trap. Haruki took out a map. How about this valley? It's a good fit for wood style, when you can catch turtles in the urn. As you say. Facing Haruki, who knows how to use wood style, his attitude has changed drastically. Respect before and after. But Haruki keenly caught his dissatisfaction. It's not surprising to think of the situation in the original book. Hirayuho was originally a ninja from the Sannin generation and a good friend of Orochimaru, but his strength is really average. He was jealous of Sannin's huge fame, and then turned to human experimentation, wanting to get the limit of blood inheritance. Haruki can guarantee that his wood style is greeted by him. But he never cares about people who are about to die. After leaving, Haruki started his own job, medical ninja. Although he changed his appearance, he was unimpeded all the way in the name of Haruki. The wounded were sent in continuously. Hitaki Tsukumo has rushed to the battlefield. Haruki wiped his sweat and went back to rest in the tent prepared for him. He made a seal with one hand, and his sight was connected to his summoning beast Katsuyu. Because he learned medical ninjutsu from Tsunade, he also got into the summoning beast. The only pity is that he didn't learn sage mode in the holy land of Wetbone Grove. After a while, a forest appeared before his eyes. The sound of speech also passed into his ears. Makoto, Kushina and I control the Sand Shinobi team in front of us. You use hypnosis with them. Namikaze Minato stared at the 3 Chunin in front of him intently. The shuriken was thrown out in an instant. The sound of breaking wind made Sand Shinobi alert. The 3 stood up and looked in the direction of the shuriken. Sand Shinobi in the middle quickly formed seals, spitting out a whirlwind in his mouth. The shuriken was blown away suddenly. The unabated whirlwind cut open the tree like a sharp long knife. Namikaze Minato appears. It's from Konoha village. Sand Shinobi recognized his forehead protector. Be careful, there should be other people. He rushed out first. Several shurikens were thrown out by him. Immediately put his hands together. Wind-style gale palm. A powerful airflow gushed out of the palm, wrapped the sword in his hand, and slid a parabola in the air at a very fast speed. Namikaze Minato couldn't dodge and was submerged. But the fallen wood is only a stand-in. Sand Shinobi's eyes turned quickly. Suddenly he saw his two companions being entangled in golden chains. What kind of ninjutsu is this? After thinking about it, he passed away, and took out several shurikens from his shoulder bag. Printed not. The chakra of wind attribute was injected into the shuriken, and the sharp breath was revealed. The shuriken suddenly became hard and sharp. But the fireball coming from high in the sky, fast and accurate, hit the sword in his hand. Sand Shinobi raised his head subconsciously, saw a pair of red eyes. He immediately stood there. Namikaze Minato reappeared, quickly solved the other two people, grabbed the ninja controlled by Sharingan, and escaped from the crime scene. Haruki retracted her perception. Sure enough, as he expected, the strength of the three had surpassed ordinary Chunin. For the time being, it is safe. Haruki waited until Hitaki Tsukumo returned and came to his tent. These two guys at Cloud Shinobi really hide. Hitaki saw him and couldn't help but speak. As a commander, he is not suitable for speaking frustratingly under his men. But Haruki has a similar status to him. If you want to find them, you can only rely on Hyuga's house, Haruki said casually. I have passed the news, and they will arrive tomorrow. How do you want to arrange them? Of course, one for each team. Tsukumo, you haven't thought about a question. Why did the two Cloud Shinobi know your whereabouts before? Haruki's face suddenly became serious. Hitaki Shumao was startled slightly. He actually has such doubts. But he didn't want to believe it. Someone has leaked your whereabouts, then the whereabouts of Hyuga's house may also be leaked. Haruki calmly analyzed, if I were Cloud Shinobi, I would definitely wipe out Hyuga's ninjas in advance. Moon to transit. Haruki's wood clone touched the tent of Bailuhu. Who? Bailuhu noticed Haruki appearing in front of him and subconsciously uttered. It's me. What's up? The plan has changed. Hitaki will divide the Hyuga ninjas into teams. After I asked Master Danzo, he suggested that we act now. Yes, what can I do? Bailu echoed and nodded. He naturally hoped that the sooner the better. According to the message sent back by Lord Danzo, they are stationed near Shinagawa. Haruki summoning took out the storage scroll, took out Cloud Shinobi's clothing and forehead protector. Let's set off now. Bailuhu immediately changed into his clothes. Be careful not to be found by Anbu's people, Haruki reminded. I have lived in Konoha for nearly 30 years, and I am familiar with your routes. How could Anbu spot me? Bailuhu raised his eyes to Haruki, with a look of dissatisfaction. He always felt that this guy looked down on himself. That's great. Haruki went up and down, and left the tent. Puliahu's eyes showed killing intent. Humph, sooner or later we will get wood style in the bag. First Hokage Senju Hashirama's unmatched wood style is considered one of the best and strongest in his mind. And the other side. Haruki's body and Hitaki are drinking tea. You are a little impatient. Ching Shu took a sip of tea, then slowly put down the cup. And Hitaki Tsukumo drank the tea directly. Could it be that you were worrying too much? So far, there has been no news from Anbu. Maybe there is no rape in our camp. You think of them too well, and you must be aware that your partner may also betray you. Haruki stroked the teacup and said casually. But after all, it's a minority. Hitaki Tsukumo disagreed with him. As a commander, I have to trust my men and cherish my companions. It seems that you are really not suitable for being a commander, Haruki said directly. I didn't want to be a commander either. Hitaki Tsukumo sighed, I am only suitable for tasks. What about Hokage? Haruki pointed to his Hokage half-sleeve. Your current reputation has overwhelmed Sannin. Not surprisingly, the next generation of Hokage is you. I know it's not Hokage's material. Hitaki shook his head. You are free and easy. Haruki has known him for a while, and his character is really not suitable for Hokage. But a pity, the position of Hokage is too tempting. Those who are threatened will not be able to escape Shimura Danzo's poisonous hands. Master Hitaki, Master Haruki. Anbu's ninja appears. As a unit directly under Hokage, it is responsible for intelligence. Even during the war, it was no exception. Just now we found 2 Cloud Shinobi ninjas leaving our camp. Cloud Shinobi? Hitaki Shumo's face sank. Can you see who it is? No, these 2 people are very familiar with my Anbu, and we are also lucky. We noticed their tracks at the checkpoint mentioned by Master Haruki, but they were startled and didn't step forward. Damn it. Hitaki Tsukumo slapped the table fiercely. He hated the person who betrayed his companion the most. Where are they going? Haruki continued to ask instead of Hitaki Tsukumo. Zinmingchuan, Hyuga's camp. Haruki, I really made you right. Hitaki Sakumo stood up. We will go to the rescue now. Wait, Sakumo. Haruki stopped him, looked at Anbu Ninja again, and asked, is Sand Shinobi moving? No, we need to keep a large army in order to prevent Sanagakure's ninjas from noticing our anomaly. Haruki suggested, the number of Cloud Shinobi shouldn't be too many. After all, the 2 Jonin who attacked Yumebi Ihebi of Cloud Shinobi Village, the heir of Reikage and 8 Tails Jinchuriki. Their strength is extraordinary. Hitaki suddenly frowned. Although Anbu's news is an inference, he has personally fought each other, and the two are extremely difficult. Even if it is not Ihebi, it should be no problem to deal with the 40 ninjas of Hyuga's family. Bring 20 Jonin. I will go with you too, Haruki said. What are you doing as a medical ninja? It's too dangerous. Hitaki refused. Naturally save people. Haruki rubbed his forehead, revealing a diamond-shaped mark, 100 healings mark. You should know this ninjutsu. Even if you die, I won't necessarily die. Hitaki hesitated a little, and finally agreed to his request. With such a superb medical ninja like Haruki, their group will be much safer. Shadow clone technique. Haruki and Bei-Luhu performed at the same time, and immediately separated 6 clones. Byakugan of Hyuga can see through the clone. However, the shadow clone technique developed by second Hokage Senju Tobirama has an entity and can use chakra. At first glance, it looks no different than it really is. Do you know lightning style? Haruki asked. Will not. Then let me attack, fight and retreat, and led to the forest. After Haruki finished speaking, he put on a mask, including his clone. He jumped straight up. Purple thunder and lightning surrounded him, forming a pair of armor. Although he doesn't understand Reikage's ninjutsu and lightning-style bodyguard, there are lightning-style ninjutsu that can achieve similar visual effects. Very fast. Instantly appeared on the bank of Zinming River, making seals on both hands. Lightning-style go. A large amount of thunderlight merged into the river through his hands, and there was a continuous scream in an instant. Haruki looked at the camp in the distance. At this time the flames were bright. A large number of ninjas flew towards him. A soft sound. The night sky has colorful ninjutsu. Although Hyuga's family is famous for Byakugan and physique, it doesn't mean that they don't use ninjutsu. Now that the range is far away, gentle fist cannot be used. Haruki naturally wouldn't let them get close. He and the clones kept a considerable distance while walking and flying kites while Bubiu was firing lightning flashing electric balls. In order to avoid them not chasing after him, Bei-Luhu made a big shot and injured several people. I'm going to prepare for ninjutsu. Haruki turned around in midair and sank into the forest. In a short while, Hiryuko and Hyuga's ninjas also entered. Haruki quickly seals. The huge chakra rises into the sky like a dragon, sweeping the entire forest at an exaggerated speed. What? The Hyuga ninja who was pursuing suddenly looked up. An unimaginable sense of oppression, as if Shinigami is about to come, shaking the earth. That guy. Bei-Luhu couldn't help but feel a great panic and longing in his heart. He has heard of the power of wood style, but he has seen it with his own eyes, and after his own experience, it is far beyond imagination. Wood style birthday of the tree world. The earth cracked, and there was a whistling wherever it went. All the trees are swelling and growing crazily. The gap was filled, leaving only the power of destruction, causing waves of waves. Asshole. What are you doing? Bei-Lu shouted in horror, his face full of incredible color. Like other Hyuga ninjas, he was bound by branches and could not move. The flying dust gradually dispersed. Exposed the thick and big tree trunks, they intertwined with each other, turning the original forest into a mess. 40 ninjas of Hyuga's face changed drastically. Fear naturally grows like weeds. Wood style is almost the iconic blood boundary of Konoha village. They did not expect to see wood style again one day. No, not only saw it, but also experienced it for yourself. There was such a momentary trance, it was like an illusion. But the body that couldn't break free reminded them that this is the truth. Bei-Lu yelled and yelled. It is in sharp contrast with the silent Hyuga's house. Damn it. Lord Danzo will definitely kill you. Bei-Lu cried, his eyes to split, like a gambler who had lost everything. He didn't want his life to end here. But he clearly felt that his chakra was being absorbed by the tree trunk. Danzo? Hyuga Kusuke's expression suddenly condensed. He looked at Haruki wearing a mask and dressed up as Cloud Shinobi, and asked calmly, Your Excellency, what do you want to do? You are very calm. Haruki smiled, he knew this man. It can be regarded as one of the better Jonin in Hyuga's family. You wait for me for a while. Haruki turned to look at Bei-Luhu. Bei-Luhu, this is the end of your mission. Task. What task? Bastard, you let me go. Bailuhu struggled violently, and the loss of chakra dissipated his sense of security. The mission to lead the way. Haruki took out a kunai. What do you want to do? Bailuhu was shocked and yelled angrily, you dare to kill me? I cooperate with Lord Danzo, you can't kill me. No. Don't come over. Haruki fished his ears. As for how to bark like a pig. Space-time ninjutsu. Hyuga Kusuke was a little shocked, and blurted out when he looked at the place where Bailuhu disappeared. Who are you? Haruki made a seal casually, and after a puff of smoke, he became Hibernian. I'm just humble. Hyuga Sosuke stopped when he heard the words, and said in a dull tone, do you think I am blind? Such a big Byakugan, it really looks a bit like it. The chat is over, let's talk about business. Haruki pointed to the ninja hanging on the tree, so many people should be worth a lot of money, right? Money? Hyuga Kusaka asked in surprise, you want money? No, brother, such a big battle is just for money? You said it earlier, the Hyuga family didn't talk about anything else, it was the money. More or less. A smile appeared on Haruki's face, I will let you go back and tell your patriarch about my conditions. How much is it? Hyuga Kusuke breathed a sigh of relief. Things that can be solved with money are not too troublesome. A pair of Byakugan. Impossible. Hyuga Kusuke said subconsciously. It's impossible that you have the final say. Think clearly, there are 40 members of your branch house. Can your clan be ruthless to this point? Haruki waved his hand, and the branches on Hyuga Kusuke's body untied. He deliberately increased the volume of his voice so that everyone could hear it. If this is the case, even I am unlucky. But I feel sorry for you. A group of Jonin are treated as dogs, oh no, they are abandoned like garbage. Hyuga Kusuke's face suddenly became as white as Byakugan. He can't imagine the result of this incident? If the patriarch disagrees, he shakes his body, he will definitely agree. How do I find you? Hyuga Sosuke calmed down forcibly. Along this river, to its source. Haruki took out a kunai and said with a smile, do you need me to send you a ride? Trouble. Hyuga Sosuke did not refuse, who knows if this guy will change his mind. I wish you a smooth journey. Hyuga Kusaka suddenly felt that the stars were moving, and after a while dizzy, he opened his eyes. The head of 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen is watching him. Hokage Rock? He couldn't help swallowing. As Jonin, he has a certain understanding of spacetime ninjutsu. Being able to move so far not only proves that the level of ninjutsu used is extremely high, but also that chakra, the ninja who performs ninjutsu, is extraordinary and amazing. Hyuga Sosuke suppressed his fear and hurried to Hyuga's house. Haruki took out kunai again, and turned to look at Hitaki Sakumo and others. Wei Lu Huo? Seeing his appearance, Hitaki said in shock. After noticing the forest here from afar, the group of them quickly recognized that it was wood style. After guarding all the way, he found that it was Bei Lu Hu. The feeling is as ridiculous as 9 tails suddenly grow from the tail of a crane, turning into a tail beast. Master Hitaki, you came a little bit slower. Haruki shrugged, look at the finishing touches. Why? Hitaki Sakumo took a deep breath. Wood style made him very jealous. After all, the reputation of 1st Hokage is unknown to everyone. Just follow orders. Whose order? Hitaki asked. However, the next moment, a white light flashed, and the person in front of him didn't seem to appear. Hitaki Sakumo's eyes widened, hell, he has never heard of this character. He knows wood style again, and he knows time and space ninjutsu. Things are in trouble. The main character Haruki walked in front of Hitaki Sakumo with a heavy face, 40 Hyuga ninjas are missing. I'm afraid it will cause an uproar. Master Hokage must be notified of this. Hitaki Sakumo returned to his senses and said, it's hard to hide things today. Tsunade will definitely do something. I can't leave. I can only let Anbu pass the message. No, Haruki shook his head, now the situation is unknown. Maybe there is a rape. Let me go. I am a disguise and a medical ninja. It is normal to go back to the village to replenish medicine. But, no mother-in-law. Haruki interrupted him, and this matter is too involved. Master Hokage is more likely to believe my words. Then you be careful. Hitaki thought for a while and nodded. It's you who are more dangerous now. Haruki's eyes rolled. I have a suggestion about the battle with Tsunade. What advice? Split into pieces. Distribute all the ninja squads. Hide Konoha's logo. Hide in mountains and rivers. Disguise as animals, bandits, civilians, and even disguise as cloud shinobi or sand shinobi. Haruki looked at the confusion on Hitaki's face, and said with a smile. We are weaker than them, so I think there are some problems with the current fighting style. There is no need to head on with them. If you can't fight, you will fight, if you can't fight, you will run, and the harassment policy will be implemented. This method has never been used on a large scale. Hitaki Sakumo was uncertain. Haruki said more like what the intelligence team did. Try it. We can't fight them head on now, let alone we are ninjas, not samurai. Haruki patted him on the shoulder. Do you want to abide by your samurai spirit and cause more companion sacrifices? Master K. What happened? As soon as Hyuga Hiyashi entered the compound, he saw Hyuga K, who had taught him ninjutsu, chanting. A large number of branch house ninjas fell to the ground with their heads in pain. This is Caged Bird being triggered. Young master, they have committed the following crimes. I am ordered by the patriarch to punish them. Hyuga stood in front of the door, Jian kept in his hand, and took the time to reply. What the following is committed? Hyuga Hiyashi was stunned. This was incredible. Since Caged Bird, Branch House has been automatically divided into two factions. One faction became a staunch defender of the clan, while the other faction hated the clan, but it also stood by. They tried to attack the patriarch. How can it be? Hyuga Hiyashi felt inexplicable. Where is my father? In the conference hall. Hyuga Hiyashi rushed to the lobby immediately. I saw a middle-aged man kneeling in front of the hall door from a distance. Uncle Sao Jia? Hyuga Hiyashi was taken aback, and he hurried forward to help him, but was refused. Hyuga Kusuke's raised palm oozes blood. Look at the wound, it should be caused by clenching fists and nails falling into the flesh. How could this be? The bad premonition in Hyuga Hiyashi's heart is even stronger. Hyuga Kusuke can be regarded as a loyal defender of the Zong family, and he is usually very good to him. Little Lord, Hyuga Kusuke opened her mouth, but in the end she said nothing. The clan is passed down in the same line. Anyone missing is an unbearable loss. Thinking of this, he suddenly fell silent. What is oneself? Oh, it's really pitiful. I don't care about my branch house, but worry about whether the family is going well or not. It's not cheap. I'm going to see my father. Hyuga Hiyashi got up and ran into the hall. Surprisingly, it was not his father who was in the middle, but an old man. The clan elders he had ever met. I have seen the elders, I have seen my father. After saluting, Hyuga Hiyashi couldn't wait to ask, what happened today? Hiyashi, sit down. The elder pointed to the seat and briefly said the matter. Hyuga Hiyashi suddenly didn't know what to say. The atmosphere is calm. All the people present here are gloomy. It must not be fostered. The elder patted the small table and broke the silence. The branch house has been out for a long time. If this time I agree, will others follow suit? But if you don't agree, the branch house might riot. Hyuga Hiyashi's father Hyuga and C shook their heads and said, even if there is Caged Bird suppression, there may be no problems in a short time, but the hidden danger has been buried, and the branch house may suddenly take action. The elder sighed slightly. Let the branch house not be engraved with the children of Caged Bird. Elder. Hyuga Hiyashi got up suddenly. The branch house was usually carved with Caged Bird only when he was 3 years old, which means he had to hand over a child of 1 or 2 years old. The ruthlessness in it made him feel a strong discomfort. Shut up. Do you want the old man to go? I didn't mean that. Hyuga Hiyashi took a deep breath. Handing over the child in the branch house can only lead to worse results. I suggest that this matter should be decided by Mr. Hokage. Maybe this is a good way. After Hyuga Hiyashi's reminder, Hyuga and C woke up. They are used to solving the Hyuga's affairs by themselves and not allowing others to intervene. But this time is a little different. Elder, do you remember what Kyosuke said? Do you mean Shimura Danzo's instigation? But the method is too crude, and it looks like being blamed. Regardless of whether or not to blame, the ninja of my Hyuga family was captured on the battlefield. It is reasonable and reasonable. Hokage-sama should explain it to us. You are right. Go and talk to Master Hokage with C. Hiyashi. Follow me to Hokage Pavilion. Hyuga and C got up, called Sosuke again, and headed to Hokage Pavilion together. Soon they arrived at Sarutobi Hiruzen's office. It was not Anbu who opened the door, but Haruki. You are here. Haruki let them in. I have already told Hokage-sama about the 40 Hyuga ninjas. Hesi, this is your fault. Sarutobi Hiruzen reproached and said, why didn't you report to me in time? Isn't your Hyuga family our Konoha ninja? Feel sorry. The hearts of Hyuga and C are warm, and it is worthwhile that the Hyuga family has always supported the Hokage line. I will give you an explanation. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook the pipe in his hand. After a while, the door was pushed open. Shimura Danzo walked in, his expression gloomy. Hiruzen, why send Anbu to investigate Hiruzen? Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at him. The atmosphere suddenly became viscous. Shimura Danzo felt an unprecedented pressure. His face moved slightly. He almost forgot the Hokage who was called the strongest in front of him. Danzo, you should know that the experiment has been halted. What did Bailuhu do, but you instructed it? Shimura Danzo was silent for a moment, then glanced at the other 3 people in the office. I do not understand. Enough. Sarutobi Hiruzen is not angry. Danzo, I have allowed you a lot, but you broke the rules and where Konoha is. Shimura Danzo's heart trembled. What happened? In addition to the so-called Will of Fire, he did a lot of things secretly, but he never let Sarutobi Hiruzen treat himself like this. Still in front of outsiders. HMPH, look at the good things you do. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned slightly, and Danzo's reaction didn't seem to be fake. How can it be? Shimura Danzo opened the scroll and saw the content of the horror. He had to yell because of his restraint. Although I am called Bailuhu to study wood style, there is still a long time to succeed. Besides, with my methods, how can everyone know it? In order to clear his suspicion, Shimura Danzo blew himself up. Really not what you did? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. It can never be me. Hiruzen, have I ever lied to you? Everything I do is for Konoha, Shimura Danzo said angrily. Haruki glanced at the 2 of them. Good acting skills. Sarutobi Hiruzen kills 2 birds with 1 stone, winning the loyalty of the Hyuga family and beating the increasingly rampant Danzo. Shimura Danzo quickly cleared himself in a few words. I am afraid that Sarutobi Hiruzen is also hesitant now. After all, his own strategy was too hasty, and there were big loopholes. Who is this mysterious man? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked doubtfully. Since the death of first generation, wood style has never been inherited. How did he learn it? Could it be Qian? Shimura Danzo stopped immediately. He almost forgot that there were outsiders. Leave this to me, and I will definitely bring him back. Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his eyelids. Judging from the description of the scroll, this mysterious man is probably not weaker than himself. And Shimura Danzo. How much did this guy hide from himself? Shimura Danzo rushed to Shinagawa with his roots. Several Hyuga ninjas, including Hyuga and Shi, accompanied him. Regardless of whether the transaction is to be carried out, the patriarch will go there in person, which can give a certain degree of comfort to the current turbulent branch house. Haruki did not follow. He came to the basement of the academy. Almost a week, the ninjas of the Oshima Chamber of Commerce should have arrived. Master Haruki, long time no see. Shinji Hira. I didn't expect Yoshiyuki Oshima to send you over. Haruki was a little surprised, looking at the young man in front of him. Hei Shinji can be regarded as the strongest combat power of the Oshima Chamber of Commerce. He possesses the boundary of Bingdun, and his hometown is a distant country of snow. Chairman Oshima said that Haruki-sama needs me more here. Yes. What's the situation now? Haruki no longer struggled with this question. A total of 58 ninjas were transferred this time. 3 of them were picked by Shimura Danzo and entered the routes. Sarutobi Hiruzen's Anbu conditions are slightly more relaxed, with 10 ninjas, and the remaining 45 are in the academy. Better than I thought. Haruki is not dissatisfied. It is not easy to raise so many ninjas in 3 years. Give me the list in the academy. Okay. After a while, Haruki opened the roster and selected 12 people. Call them to me. Yes. Hei Shinji scanned the circled names, slightly puzzled. These ninjas are all genin, and they are the kind who are older and generally talented, who were originally sent to act as assistants. But he didn't ask, and soon the notice was in place. Oki Kai, you will be the person in charge from now on. Haruki named an experienced ninja and said, it's not difficult for you to do in the early stage. To open or purchase publishing houses and bookstores in Konoha, remember to use legal means. Yes. Oki Kai immediately responded. He, like other ninjas, survived because of Haruki. Moreover, under Haruki's hands, no matter it is a commoner or a ninja, they are treated equally. He has been farming for half a year, so he does not exclude ordinary industries. Well, today I'll give you a task. Send or hire someone to go to public places, such as restaurants, ramen restaurants, hot springs, etc., to spread a message through small talk. The Hyuga clan did not agree to exchange hostages, leading to Branch House 40. Ninja died. Yes. Remember, it doesn't need to be too detailed. It's similar to the gossip, made it more mysterious and exaggerated. At the same time, in order to prevent Anbu from being noticed, everyone can only appear once. Haruki thought for a while, then added, rumors will always spread the fastest. The public opinion is true and false, and the content is superb. He can guarantee that Konoha village, which has no entertainment methods, will be extraordinarily lively these 2 days. Especially when it comes to the Hyuga giants. After publishing houses and bookstores have at least 1/5 of Konoha's share, we will publish a new book. Haruki smiled and said, the content of the first publicity is an adventure novel written by the legendary Lord Sannin Jiraiya himself. Speaking of his previous life, he felt quite handy. Of course, there is still nostalgia. Konoha has a bookstore. But the publicity really pulls across. Unless you specifically go to a bookstore, it is difficult to understand what novels are available. Obviously, with the name Jiraiya, it should be a big hit. Master Haruki, do our publishers and bookstores need to change their names? New Konoha. In addition to the preparation of Konoha Daily, the early content does not involve any sensitive topics, and editors and reporters are recruited. Yes. That's it for the time being. Report to me in time if you encounter difficulties. After leaving the basement, Haruki thought for a while, and it seemed something was wrong to find Tsunade. I just said goodbye to her 2 days ago, and now I am coming back. This is not a deception. So he came to the ninja group. Their current task is to cooperate with Byakugan to research a new type of long-range weapon. Master Haruki. The head of the ninja group is called Murata Ichiro. His ancestor was a blacksmith, who forged weapons for generations. Haruki nodded and looked around. Because of the iron furnace, the airwave was scorching hot. You plan to make a hand crossbow? Yes. Byakugan has a very broad field of vision. If you want a long-range weapon, the hand crossbow is undoubtedly the most suitable. Murakami took off a finished product and put it on his right wrist. Compared with ordinary hand crossbows, the hand crossbow we made is more miniature, similar to the bracelet. As long as the chakra flows through the crossbow, the iron arrow is touched, and it flies out like lightning, 3 times as far away as the shuriken. What about the disadvantages? There are 2 shortcomings. The first is that because of the long distance, it consumes more chakra than the shuriken. The second is that the crossbow arrow needs to be replaced, and there is a neutral position. Haruki pondered slightly, and said, you don't need a crossbow arrow, use the detonating talisman. Wrap the detonating talisman into a projectile instead of the crossbow arrow. Detonation talisman? Will the price be too expensive? Murata Ichiro asked after a while. The detonation talisman is a kind of spell, which seals the fire-style ninjutsu in a special paper. It is used in various ways and has great power. In contrast, the price is very expensive. Shikamaru once complained in the original work. General Genin is difficult to afford. It's okay, Hyuga's family is rich. Haruki said nonchalantly, it's a big deal that the Hyuga family makes their own detonation charms. Muramasu Ichiro opened his mouth, but he couldn't answer this. It is estimated that Haruki would dare to tell the Hyuga family to do the chore of the detonation talisman. The detonator guarantees the power of the hand crossbow. More chakra can be used to support long-distance flight. The only thing you need to experiment is the time before the detonator explodes. You can't explode it halfway. Haruki pointed to a small space behind the finger crossbow. It's used here as a magazine. He took out another piece of paper and drew a rectangular magazine. To put it simply, I need to put the detonating talisman made into a projectile in the magazine, and replacing the crossbow arrow becomes a replacement magazine. There is almost no neutral position. This is simply a genius design. Muramasu Ichiro became excited. Due to the limitations of ninjas in this world, the hand crossbow can appear fortunately, as for the so-called lianbo at all. Haruki's idea is absolutely unprecedented. No wonder he was so excited. Don't be happy too early. Haruki patted him on the shoulder. The danger of the detonation talisman is self-evident, so there are many things you have to do. For example, design a unique insurance that will only be triggered when the detonation talisman is launched. I see. Muramasu Ichiro is still emotional, and he can't wait to act immediately. Well, very energetic. Haruki couldn't help but smile. Master Haruki. Let's name it, and it's definitely wrong to call it a crossbow. Also named? Haruki stroked his chin. He is actually a nameless person. In the past, he played the game Orchestrating, and it was easy to do it for half an hour. Skyfire. Haruki thought of something and said, it's called Skyfire. Asshole. 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 3 gazes sounded in the upper reaches of Zinmingchuan. Shimura Danzo lost his demeanor at the moment, his face was flushed, and he was annoyed to ultimate. Before coming, he thought about what to do with this mysterious man who knows wood style. Torture, transplantation, breeding. Wood style is the limit of blood he has been thinking about, even more than Sharingan. Shimura Danzo is the head of the roots, the real high level of Konoha village. He understands Senju Hashirama's combat power. Now that wood style is right in front of him, how can he not be excited? How can he not be excited? In order to capture, he brought 7 teams, all of whom had learned the special sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan. Even if it is a tailed beast, Danzo is guaranteed to catch it. However, this bastard didn't give him a chance at all. Shimura Danzo has not been let go of pigeons for a long time. Hyuga and C subconsciously covered their chests. I just feel a bit of colic. Died. It's all dead. Died completely. The blood stained the river red. 40 ninjas from Hyuga's family staggered all over the river bank. How should he explain to the branch house? Hyuga and C turned pale. The Hyuga family has almost never suffered such a big loss, and they are all branch houses. He came in person at this time, and he had given branch house great hope. He couldn't imagine how branch house would react after learning that the rescue failed. 40 people, involving 40 households, are connected by blood, spreading to at least 1/10 of the Hyuga family. In addition, there is the reputation that the Hyuga family has accumulated from generation to generation. As the blood succession boundary and Konoha's founding family on par with Uchiha, the Hyuga family will be hit hardest. Even his own people can't be saved. How dare you call Konoha the strongest family in the future? Master Danzo, they died yesterday. After checking the roots of the mask, he said. Yesterday. Shimura Danzo resisted the killing intent in his heart, that is to say, this person does not want to trade with Konoha at all, his purpose is to kill. I do not understand. Hyuga and C looked sad. Why are they from my Hyuga family? Not for Byakugan, is it really Cloud Shinobi Village? Shimura Danzo's eyes looked like wild beasts. He took a deep breath and said, Aburame Ryoma, go and invite Hitaki Tsukumo. Yes. Aburame Roma disappeared immediately. Not long after, Hitaki Tsukumo arrived. When he saw the corpses all over the sky, his body was shocked. Master Danzo, this. Although Hitaki is not weaker than Shimura Danzo, he still has to lower his head in his position. According to the rules, he maintains sufficient respect. Killed by yesterday's mysterious man. Shimura Danzo's eyes narrowed slightly. Haruki is a good thing to heal your injury. Are there any traces of the two Cloud Shinobi? No. Hitaki Tsukumo shook his head. Their speed is too fast, Anbu, and we didn't find it. It's the humiliation who was with the mysterious person last night. It may be the spy of Cloud Shinobi Village. I don't know if Lord Danzo has a clue. It has nothing to do with you. After Shimura Danzo got the answer, he stopped talking to Hitaki Shumo. He has ruled out the suspicion of Cloud Shinobi Village in his mind. If the mysterious person really belongs to Cloud Shinobi Village, there is no reason not to contact Tsunade and wipe out Konoha in one fell swoop. What's more, he instinctively didn't believe that a ninja who knew wood style came from Cloud Shinobi Village. This person. Maybe the remnant of the Senju clan. Hitaki's heart sank slightly. Shimura Danzo's attitude made him feel uncomfortable. As a commander, the dead Hyuga ninja was his subordinate. How can it be said that it has nothing to do with him? Thinking of this, he felt a little disheartened. He glanced at the roots of the corpse moving, and said goodbye to Shimura Danzo. With this time wasted, it is better to take this opportunity to kill a few more sand shinobi. The strategy that Haruki said has begun to bear fruit. This morning alone, the war damage ratio was greatly reduced. No need to worry. Shimura Danzo saw Hyuga Kazuji standing in a daze like a sculpture. He is not very cold to Hyuga's family, because they have always supported Sarutobi Hiruzen. However, the Hyuga family has a great influence in Konoha. He is interested in Hokage and will not make the relationship too rigid. Besides, he has to get rid of suspicion. Beiluhu is indeed his subordinate. This battle is not your crime. It is because Tsunade and Cloud Shinobi Village are too vicious. Hyuga and Shi regained their senses, and their eyes lit up slightly when they heard Shimura Danzo's words. Well said. The problem now is not that he doesn't want to trade, but that the mysterious person tears up the ticket. People in Branch House should not blame themselves. Thank you, Lord Danzo, for your advice. Hyuga and C bend down slightly, and he counts on Shimura Danzo to endorse him. Branch House may not believe what he said, but he is a high-level Konoha, who would lie without reason and is more convincing. But he would never believe that they hadn't returned yet, and things had spread. After the conclusion is made, no matter how to explain it, it is speechless. People will only believe what they hear and see. When they are in the same public opinion environment, Hyuga and C are doomed to fail. Haruki sat in the restaurant. Someone in the distance was discussing the Hyuga's house. Have you heard? The Hyuga ninja who participated in the war was wiped out. What happened? I am also a gossip. It is said that the Eight Tails Jinchuriki of Cloud Shinobi Village personally took action and took 40 ninjas from the Hyuga family. Cloud Shinobi Village, you know, values blood succession boundary very much, so they want to change the Byakugan of Hyuga clan family. Didn't the Hyuga family agree? everyone is dead, so I definitely didn't agree. Haruki smiled slightly, got up and left the hotel. Another statement was heard on the street. What do you mean? An elder daughter of Tsunade fell in love with the ninja in the branch house and wanted the clan to help disarm Caged Bird. Anyway, it is getting more and more outrageous. But everything is inseparable from its origins. All the spearheads are directed at the Hyuga clan. Oh, even if Sarutobi Hiruzen comes forward, there is nothing he can do. Haruki walked on the street and could hear relevant discussions from time to time. If there were no dead 40 ninjas, perhaps the prestigious Sarutobi Hiruzen could change public opinion. But facts are facts. 40 people is not a small number. The trajectory of their lives cannot be completely covered up. Anyone who is interested can find it. If you want to calm your anger, there may be only one way to disarm Caged Bird. Haruki looked expectantly. Hyuga Hiyashi, what should you do? While he was talking, Hyuga Hiyashi couldn't bear the villagers' comments, and a body flicker technique disappeared on the street. He returned to the Hyuga mansion. All the tribesmen looked gloomy. Especially the branch house, the eyes looking at him are like lion majesty. Cold and strange. Hyuga Hiyashi stiffened, unspeakably bitter. The glory of the past seems to have all turned into sharp edges at this moment. Layer by layer, trying to peel away his flesh and blood. Hyuga Hiyashi couldn't help being at a loss. Even though Caged Bird was able to overcome this crisis, what about the future? Distracted, can the Hyuga family really maintain its status as a wealthy family? The atmosphere of Hyuga's house has been condensed to the extreme. It's like a broken cottage in the wind and rain. Hyuga Hiyashi held the Caged Bird scroll silently. After taking it away from Orochimaru, before seeing Orochimaru or Haruki asking for it, he vaguely understood that it was intentional. Regardless of the purpose, the only way he can think of to break the game is for the clan to give up control of Caged Bird. But he is not the patriarch. Besides, in Hyuga's house, the elders have more decision-making power in a sense. Hyuga Hiyashi's face was uncertain. After hesitating for a long time, I heard the voices of Hyuga and Ji. He opened the door and saw a silent and solemn expression. Father, all 40 branch house ninjas are dead, right? How did you know? Since Hyuga and C went directly to the Hyuga mansion, they did not notice the situation in Konoha village. Suddenly hearing the rather affirmative question from Hyuga Hiyashi, it was unavoidable to be a little surprised. It's not just me, everyone knows it. Hyuga Hiyashi only felt his head dizzy, he had a hint of illusion before. What's the meaning? Hyuga and Ji rarely appear panicked. I don't know who leaked the wind. Now all the villagers in Konoha already know about my Hyuga house. Hyuga Hiyashi forced to remain calm and said. Hyuga and C heard this, almost unable to stabilize their bodies. Know it all? How can it be? He took a few deep breaths, and after a while, he disappeared into the hall. About 10 minutes later, his figure reappeared. But his face was filled with anger, and the chakra overflowing all over his body was frightening. Who is it? Framed my Hyuga's house. Hyuga and Ji just circled Konoha and heard many rumors. If it weren't for 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, he really wanted 8 trigrams palms to shoot these guys to death. But even revolving heaven can't stop the rumors. In just one day, everyone knows about it, and there must be someone behind it. Hyuga and C Lengi's voice sounded. Father, what should I do now? Hyuga Hiyashi hesitated slightly and asked. The situation is very unfavorable for us. Even Hokage-sama can't block this yo-yo's mouth. And the most terrible thing is that no matter what the process is, the result is indeed right. Hyuga and C were shocked. You are right, let's discuss it with the elders. The two immediately left the hall and went to the place where the elder lived. After reporting with the guards, they met the elders. This matter should have been done by Konoha's family. The elder's face was also ugly, he had never expected to develop to this point. The urgent task now is to contact Lord Hokage and Shimura Danzo with the secretary to announce the truth. In addition, the people who hold the branch house and explain the situation to them. If there are still people who dare to make trouble, use Caged Bird directly. Okay. Hyuga and C breathed a sigh of relief. Worthy of being an elder. Hyuga Hiyashi was silent and did not speak. Soon. At the request of the Hyuga family, Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately convened a Jonin meeting. Shimura Danzo talked about the incident, and then posted it on the bulletin board. But beyond their expectations, public opinion has not fallen. On the contrary, there is a mixture of fish and dragons, and both sides hold the same word. Because there are too many loopholes, in particular, it is really unreasonable for the mysterious person to tear up the ticket after kidnapping. Many people, especially those from the Hyuga branch house, believe that it was the Hyuga clan who lied with Hokage in order to hide the truth. New Konoha bookstore. The first bookstore acquired by Damuji. Haruki is reading a novel. Tisk, this plot is too old-fashioned. He shook his head, read all kinds of strange online novels, and then read these. I have to say that he has not used it. Oki-kai smiled, and did not comment. He talked about business matters. I have sent someone to see Lord Jiraiya, according to what you said, and talked to him about the new book agency. At the same time, I also contacted Princess Tsunade and Lord Orochimaru. Originally they were not interested, but I read yours. After handing the letter, they all agreed. Well. See what conditions Jiraiya this stingy guy can promise, but we have to take half. The reason why Haruki pulled Sanin up was naturally because he was looking for a backer. Sanin at him, who dares to provoke Konoha village? At the same time, Jiraiya and Orochimaru are also cheaper. According to the way his modern media operates, the bookstore must not be at a loss. Besides, in addition to Jiraiya's new book, he also convened many authors to write the stories he provided. Novels that are selling well in another time and space. Such as Ghost Destruction. I see. Oki nodded, and then asked, is the Hyuga's public opinion increasing the fire? Since Hokage came forward, with his prestige, our previous efforts have been greatly reduced. Need not. Haruki took out a letter and handed it to Oki-kai. This is Tsunade Anbu's guilt letter. My lord, how did you get it? Forged. Haruki shrugged. Shimura Danzo pushed all the pots to Tsunade and Cloud Shinobi village, but if a letter from Tsunade Anbu is sent to Konoha at this time, he reprimands us, saying that Tsunade has never cooperated with Cloud Shinobi village. It would be fun without kidnapping the ninjas of Hyuga as family. Will they believe it? Yes. These people are just eating melons, and they will be even more excited when they see the best news. As for whether it is true or not, it may no longer matter. Tsunade itself did not do it. Even if it was known by Third Kazekage, it would only be taken by people who thought it was Anbu. No, it should be said that even if they know, they will definitely take part in the incident that can hit the Hyuga family. How can they let it go? You find an opportunity to post the letter directly on the bulletin board, and then secretly push it. Yes. Oki-ji put away the envelope and immediately disappeared in front of him. Things fermented quickly. The next day, Haruki walked the street again. The whole Konoha is like boiling water. Everyone broke out a raging fire of 8 trigrams. It hasn't happened for a long time. Together with the depressive backlash from the previous war, Konoha ignited together. Even the public opinion that Konoha's White Fang committed suicide is nothing but that, right? Haruki thought about coming to Orochimaru's laboratory. How about Ghost Yala technique? He threw Haliuhu to Orochimaru for handling. A semi-finished forbidden technique, after the fusion of blood, will cause a great burden on the body. Haruki nodded as he remembered the bandaged appearance of Nakabe Luhu in the original book. Orochimaru's vision was accurate. Can it be remodeled? Remodeling? You don't need this stuff, why waste time? Then what about you? I heard that as long as the 5 blood inheritance boundaries are merged, you can become a perfect immortal ninja. Haven't you been pursuing longevity? How can there be such a simple thing? The shortcomings are too big, not as good as my living corpse reincarnation. Haruki was slightly silent. The original book Jonbei Luhu used the golden ring solar eclipse to seem to solve the physical problem. But now so many years in advance, Ghost Yala technique is even rougher. Perfection requires a lot of research and experimentation. This has a very serious problem. Money. Haruki's current money basically comes from the Oshima Chamber of Commerce. But he really didn't use a penny, and gave it all to Orochimaru in the orphanage. Especially Orochimaru, consumed 80% of the money. Haruki squinted in thought. Orochimaru doesn't have time to study, maybe he can do it. But loyalty is a problem. The dull conference hall suddenly opened. Hyuga-ji appeared. Elder, Patriarch, the rebellious branch house has been controlled. Thanks a lot. The elder smiled reluctantly. He knew that Hyuga-K was in a bad situation now. As a branch house, supporting the Zong family is usually fine, but nowadays, there are antagonistic emotions, and Hyuga has been marked as a running dog. Because of this, he needs to show his attitude even more. Elder, what should we do? After Hyuga-K left, Hyuga and Ji asked bitterly. A letter from Tsunade Anbu completely disrupted their steps. What to say now is no longer useful. The elder was silent upon hearing this. Hyuga Hiyashi clenched and loosened his fists, squirming his lips, and said tentatively, maybe we can relax Caged Bird appropriately? Never possible. The elder's reaction exceeded Hyuga Hiyashi's expectations. His face was sinking, and he said coldly, Caged Bird is the foundation of my clan's life. Do you really think that people who dismiss Caged Bird and Branch House will be grateful to us? I'm afraid we will die in the next second. But, this matter is not allowed to be mentioned again. The elder moved his sleeves and got up. If the branch house wants to make trouble, let them make trouble. I want to see if caged bird is there. What waves can they make? After speaking, he ignored the two and left the conference hall. Hyuga and Ji looked down at Hyuga Hiyashi, who was silent, and sighed. The elder's words make sense. Once caged bird is released, it will be difficult to deal with the branch house with the size of the clan. Father, do the Zong family and the branch house really need to be so clearly distinguished? Hyuga and Si were dumb for a while. After a moment, he said, this is destined to be born. Hyuga Hiyashi opened his mouth silently. Don't go out these days, the Zong family's guard will protect you around the clock. Hyuga and Si patted him on the shoulder, without stopping, turned and left. He has a lot to deal with now. After a long time, Hyuga Hiyashi got up. Hazashi, why are you here? He turned his head and saw Hyuga Hazashi, who looked exactly like him. I came to find my father. Hyuga Hazashi's tone is indifferent, without any brotherhood. Hyuga Hiyashi felt a pain in her heart. Caged bird. It's all caged bird's fault. The younger brother who chased him and played with him when he was young, never saw him again. I thought you would be different from other clan members. Hyuga Hazashi walked to the door and stopped. It turned out to be the same. Am I your brother or your slave? Silence. As if before death, the sound disappeared. Hyuga Hiyashi stared at the sky outside the door blankly. They should be as free as birds, but I can't do anything by myself. Waste. Hyuga Hiyashi fell to the ground. After a while, his body suddenly vibrated. Master Haruki. Thinking of this, Hyuga Hiyashi quickly got up. Body flicker technique disappeared into the hall. Quickly across the roof, he came to the research institute. Is Haruki-sama here? Please follow me. The guard didn't seem to be surprised at all, and led him to the hall. Hiyashi. Long time no see. Haruki put down the pen in his hand. He was working on novels recently. Although there are memories of past lives, he has not read the original work. His literary talent is also average, so he rationalized the plot of the animation and asked someone to write it. Haruki-sama, please teach me. Hyuga Hiyashi knelt directly on the ground. Why do you think I can teach you? Haruki glanced at him and asked. Because you gave me caged bird scroll on purpose. To be honest, Hyuga Hiyashi even suspected that Haruki was behind everything. But he couldn't figure out where Haruki had such great energy. Wood style, public opinion, Sanagakure Anbu. It's simply not something a mere medical ninja can do. Maybe it's just a coincidence, not very stupid. Haruki smiled and said, I don't hide anything from you. The reason I studied caged bird was to invite Hyuga's ninjas as my medical assistants. Byakugan played a very important role in medical care. It just happened that during the war, I came into contact with many branch houses. Ninjas. But they are limited to the caged bird and it is difficult for me to use them. I see. Hyuga Hiyashi completely dispelled his doubts. Haruki made sense. Hiyashi, since you got the scroll, why are you still looking for me? Haruki pretended to be puzzled, and continued to ask, I didn't lie to you. The contents of the scroll are all. I didn't mean Haruki-sama lied to me. Hyuga Hiyashi shook his head quickly, he sighed slightly, and talked about his severe rejection by the elder. I'm not surprised. Haruki walked in front of him, knelt down, and asked, do you know why your elders reacted so intensely? Hyuga Hiyashi shook his head. The caged bird system has been around for a long time. It was originally designed to prevent the outflow of Byakugan, but it eventually went astray. Let me ask you, who is the biggest beneficiary of caged bird? It's the clan. Hyuga Hiyashi said blankly. Yes. Your elder has such power because he has the strength comparable to Master Hokage. No, it is not, but because of caged bird. He is the beneficiary and defender of the old system. And your suggestion, which seriously harmed his interests. If you were not a member of the clan, you would have died long ago. Hyuga Hiyashi is in a state of confusion. Now that Haruki said, he felt a sense of openness. Power. Is this the taste of power? Master Haruki, what should I do? Hyuga Hiyashi looked at Haruki in confusion. He had no way to start, and a sense of powerlessness surged in his mind, and he could only hope in Haruki. It's hard. Haruki's face was embarrassed, and he shook his head and said, you can't persuade it with your mouth. Can't even you do it? Hyuga Hiyashi asked desperately. There is only one way. Haruki took out a kunai and stuffed it into his hand, and said gently, kill him. Hyuga Hiyashi was dumbfounded, scared and let go. Kuwu hit the floor with a clear voice. You. What did you say? His body couldn't help shaking, and he seemed to suspect that there was a problem with his ears. Caged bird is like a yoke that binds the wings of a bird, If you want to soar above the clouds, you have to break the yoke and you will have a revolution. Haruki stood up, downplaying the most dangerous words. Hyuga Hiyashi looked at him, lost consciousness for a while, not knowing how to answer. He only felt that Haruki today was so strange that he had never seen it before. The medical ninja in the warm sunshine in the impression could not overlap with the image in front of him. Which one is true? This is your Hyuga family's own business, and you should make the decision yourself. Haruki took out a medicine bottle and placed it in front of his eyes. This medicine can cause heart palsy and will not be considered as poisoning. It is up to you to use it or not. Haruki looked at Hyuga Hiyashi, who was absent-minded. When leaving the hall, a stagger almost staged a flat fall. Makes him a little worried. Wouldn't it be broken by playing? According to the standards of previous lives, Hyuga Hiyashi is also a Neon College student. The basic education in this world is terrible. In fact, his 3 views are not fully formed, and they are very fragile. Haruki thought of Uchiha Itachi. He was too smart, but he didn't have enough knowledge in his mind, so he embarked on a path of no return. Hyuga Hiyashi suddenly received the input of Haruki's explosion, and it was normal to lose a square inch suddenly. He uses 4 words to describe it at the moment: 3 views burst. But as for rebirth, he is still more degenerate, and everything depends on his choice. After a moment of contemplation, Haruki smiled sharply. Who cares? Even if Hyuga Hiyashi didn't do what he meant, for him, the result was already doomed, it was just more troublesome. Haruki recovered, picked up the pen, and was taken aback. I'm so stupid, really. He froze in shape, shook his head, and made a seal at will, calling out wood clone. I will leave the rest to you. Yes. Haruki waved a big hand, her expression relaxed, and she felt lazy. He remembered the previous stupid textbook. It was because his thinking in his previous life had not changed, and for a while he forgot to have shadow clone, a cheating ninjutsu. Haruki came to the new Konoha bookstore. After the Hyuga family's affairs are resolved, his next plan involves bookstores or publicity. In addition, make a little money by the way. Damuzi, you help me find these 3 people. Haruki picked up the 3 books on the shelf, pointed to the author on it, and said, tell them, ghostwriting for our designated story, there will be no less money. He has read many novels on the market these days. The 3 books in his hand are the best sellers, and the author's writing style is also very good. Under his supervision, it shouldn't be a problem to reproduce novels from previous lives. Okay, my lord. Omazi nodded. Because he was in charge of the bookstore, he had known these authors specifically. Authors with ninja status like Jiraiya are extremely rare, and most of them are civilians. After all, in a flying world, ninjas are born with a transcendent status and are more attractive. Is Jiraiya contacted yet? I have received a reply. Lord Jiraiya has no objections and agreed to your plan. Haruki smiled slightly. Although Jiraiya doesn't like him because of Tsunade, most of the time, he doesn't make things difficult for him. All in all, he is a good person. What is the name of the novel he wrote? Strong Perseverance to Bear the Pass. Haruki's mouth twitched slightly when she heard it. What is the title of this book? Not attractive at all, but a little familiar. Is the protagonist of the novel called Naruto? Yes. Haruki couldn't help shaking his head. It really is this novel. Legendary Namikaze Minado's favorite book. Find a suitable subtitle when promoting. Haruki pondered for a moment, but in order not to affect the relationship with Jiraiya, he decided not to modify the title of the book. Well, let me think about it. Son of Destiny, the genius ninja who saves the ninja world. This is not bad. He originally planned to get a prophetic son. But this may be suspected. After all, not many people now know the so-called sons of prophecy. But this title is exaggerated enough. Haruki is looking forward to how Konoha, who has not been bombarded by shock news, will react. When will the promotion start? Don't worry, wait for tomorrow, and then help Hyuga's family to change public opinion. Haruki smiled brightly. If Hyuga Hiyashi doesn't disappoint me, we will save a lot of trouble. The next day. There is no news from Hyuga's house. But Haruki saw Hyuga Hiyashi and his father Hyuga and Ji in the academy. Haruki, it's really a good method. Hyuga and C bowed slightly and spoke first. What means? Haruki smiled slightly. If the patriarch you are talking about caged bird, it's just a coincidence. Coincide? The caged bird of Hyuga's family is comparable to forbidden technique. It is no coincidence that it can be explained by cracking and transforming it. Hyuga and Ji dare to conclude that Haruki or Orochimaru had already targeted them at Hyuga's house long ago. He is more difficult to fool than Hyuga Hiyashi. In today's situation, Haruki must be mixed, but what can he do now? Rebuke? Hands-on? This is not a hot-blooded anime drama. The Hyuga family can become one of Konoha's strongest families, relying on more than Byakugan. Haruki, Hiyashi has done what you said, the elder died of heart disease. Hyuga and C sighed in their hearts and gave up resistance. No matter what Haruki intends, it is enough to keep Hyuga's house. It's not of heart disease, but of suicide, Haruki said. Hyuga and C Wenyan condensed, vaguely grasping some key points. He asked, "Why do you say that?" The clan patriarch killed 40 people in the branch house because of his own selfish desires. After thinking about it for a few days, he committed suicide by cutting his stomach to settle his guilt. Haruki paused, looked at Hyuga and G, and asked, "What will be the effect of this statement to Konoha?" Hyuga and C were shocked. The current public opinion is one-sided, and it's not conducive to the clan at all. But Haruki's words pushed all the faults to the elders. In other words, it was the result of the elders' willful actions, and the rest of the clan was forced to helplessly. He took a deep breath and said with emotion, "You can turn the situation around casually. It's really like turning your hands into clouds and covering your hands into rain. It's just borrowing flowers to offer Buddha." Haruki laughed. "The biggest hero is Hiyashi, not me." Hyuga and C stopped talking. The smiling face in front of him was as warm as the sun, but it made him feel cold for no reason. He naturally understands Hyuga Hiyashi. It is absolutely impossible to do such a shocking thing as the assassination of the elder. The only explanation is what Haruki said to him. Hyuga and C were silent for a moment, and then spoke again. "Does my clan have to give up control of Caged Bird?" Haruki was dumb. Is there still hope at this time? Only in this way can the anger of the branch house be completely quelled. "But my clan power will be greatly hit. Zong family?" Haruki raised the corners of his mouth and said sarcastically, "What is a clan? What is a branch house? Your son, Hyuga Hazashi, is not your family. It's ridiculous. If you still have this kind of thinking, it's better to give way to Hiyashi." Hyuga and Sis' faces suddenly turned pale. Strictly speaking, as the patriarch of the Hyuga family, his status is higher than that of Haruki. At the top, Haruki is on the same level as Sanin. But he is not Sarutobi Hiruzen's apprentice. Except for a Tsunade girlfriend, he has no influence. In normal times, Hyuga and C just treat him as a junior. At most, because of medical ninjutsu, they will not be evil. But at this moment, Haruki's words were simply writing a face to output, and he didn't give him any face. His face changed again and again. After all, the situation is not as good as people. Hyuga and G raised their heads, and said respectfully, "Master Haruki, please enlighten me." "I don't dare to enlighten me, just talk about my suggestion. You can consider it if you think it is reasonable." A smile appeared on the surface of the tree, and he returned to his usual appearance. Hyuga and G are indeed the patriarchs of the Hyuga family. Can bend and stretch. Well, it proves to be saved. If he is obsessed with not comprehending. There is a saying that people are inherently dead, and some people need a little help. The suicide of the elders can certainly calm some people's anger, but giving up Caged Bird can completely dispel the doubts of the branch house. But Zongja. Hyuga and G stopped suddenly. Since there is no Caged Bird, there is no such thing as clan and branch house. Haruki shook his head. What Hyuga and G don't know is that even if he disagrees, his son will gradually abolish Caged Bird in the future. The destruction of the old system is accompanied by the birth of a new system. If you want the branch house to be unclear, you have to re-establish a new concept. Haruki narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "The concept of family, parents and children. For example, your current family includes your wife and 2 sons. When your son gets married, he forms a new one. Family. In this way, the gap between the clan family and the branch house is eliminated." Hyuga and C Wenyan looked serious and pondered for a while and said, "In this case, the original clan family will lose its inherent advantages. If this happens, even the patriarch's position may not be retained." Haruki frowned and asked, "Do you want the Hyuga clan to prosper, or do you want to sacrifice other people to protect your clan?" Hyuga and C opened their mouths and did not speak. It is difficult to change his thinking for a while. Hyuga and Uchiha are equally famous, but have you ever wondered why the number of Uchiha Jonin far exceeds your Hyuga? It's because your Hyuga's talents are not as good as Byakugan. I don't think so. The biggest reason is that your clan suppressed Hyuga's vastness. Some people. Hyuga and G were completely stunned. Even Hyuga Hiyashi fell silent. They have quite a sense of sudden realization. Although Hyuga is one of Konoha's wealthy families, it is much different from Uchiha. Uchiha has a one-to-one saying that they are invincible, but what about them? Caged Bird trapped not only the branch house, but also the future of the Hyuga family. Hiyashi, let me ask you, are you sure to be the number 1 among your Hyuga peers? Yes. Hyuga Hiyashi didn't hesitate too much. Very good. Haruki stretched out a finger. It only takes one way to unite the Hyuga family, even more prosperous and stronger than ever. The atmosphere suddenly condensed. Hyuga and G eagerly said, Haruki-sama, please. Increase promotion channels. If a family wants to thrive, everyone must work hard and build together. And promotion channels mean the return of hard work, and it is difficult to last long only by paying. Haruki said. Hyuga and C are still a little confused. It's not that I don't understand Haruki's meaning, but I don't understand how to get promoted. Ninjas have the promotion of lower, middle, and jonin. How can the family be promoted? Is it the position of the patriarch? Thinking of this, he suddenly stunned, and his face was uncertain. This has reached his bottom line. He is willing to give up caged bird, essentially to keep the position of patriarch. Haruki glanced at him, knowing that he might have a guess. The promotion channel I'm talking about is about the system reform of the selection of patriarchs. He raised his hand to stop the two who wanted to speak. Listen first. Hyuga and C reluctantly nodded. He wanted to see what Haruki-sama could advise. The Hyuga clan is a family unit, and anyone over the age of 12 has votes. Genin has 1 vote, Chunin has 5 votes, and Jonin has 10 votes. 10 candidates will be voted before the current patriarch retires. The 10 candidates each have 3 years to explain their ideas and how to develop the Hyuga family after taking office. After 3 years, the candidates will compete in strength first, and the winner will automatically have 30% of the qualifications. Of the remaining 70%, 20% go to the patriarchs and elders, and 50% are used to vote. In the end, the person with the highest number of votes became the patriarch, and the remaining 9 people became elders and advisors. Each term of office is 10 years. After the term expires, you cannot continue to participate, but you will automatically become an elder, allowing you to run for another term. After Haruki finished speaking, he waited for the reaction of the 2 people. His system refers to the previous life, but also takes into account the actual situation in the Hokage world, so some modifications have been made. Generally speaking, it is an experimental product, rather rough. His ultimate goal is to implement this system in Konoha and even the entire ninja world. But it is not perfect. The so-called practice leads to true knowledge. Since the Hyuga family gave him a chance, he would naturally not let it go. Hyuga and C were in a trance. He was uncertain about this new mechanism. He subconsciously looked at Haruki where the old god was, and looked at each other with Hyuga Hiyashi. He considered his tone and asked, Master Chingshu, our ancestor, what are the advantages of this line? Of the 100% qualifications, you are innately occupying 50%, and the next patriarch must be Hyuga Hiyashi. If you can't even occupy half of it in the future, why do you harm your family? Hyuga and C are silent. Father, don't you have any confidence in our offspring? Hyuga Hiyashi said when he saw this. Hyuga and C were startled, and nodded immediately. If you can lose with such a big advantage, there is really no need to become a patriarch for the descendants of filial piety and incompetence. Master Haruki, I have one more question. Why are votes for Genin and Chunin? Even for Hokage, it's just Jonin voting. What? You are worried that if you have too few people in your line, you will lose in Genin and Chunin. Hyuga and C narrowed their eyes, and since they were seen through, there was no need to hide them. I do worry about this. You are also the leader of a family anyway. Why are you so short-sighted? You only know how to pursue your own interests. Think about the benefits. After Haruki finished speaking, he waited for a while, and saw that he was still confused, so he couldn't help but shook his head. Anyone who is interested in the patriarch or elder must find a way to get votes. But your Hyuga clan now has more than 1,000 people, and the votes are relatively fixed. So how do you increase the votes? There are only 2 ways. One is to promote to Chunin or Jonin as soon as possible, and the other is to plan the population and increase births. If things go on like this, no surprises, your Hyuga house will become a giant. The greater the population base, the greater the probability of the emergence of geniuses, and the top powerhouses will surge. Within 10 years, I would dare to conclude that the strength of your clan doubled. Hyuga, G, and Hyuga Hiyashi were immediately moved. They didn't even notice such a simple truth. Thinking of the future prospects, Hyuga and G looked at Haruki's eyes, admiring them. He took a deep breath, suppressing the excitement in his heart, but suddenly thinking of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the excitement diminished. He said anxiously, if Hokage-sama knows, it won't necessarily allow my Hyuga family to grow like this. It's easy. Haruki said casually, just change to a Hokage. Hyuga and G suddenly looked up at Haruki. Hyuga Hiyashi on one side made almost the same movement, with shock and anxiety on his face. At their level, Hokage is no longer the target shouted by the hot-blooded youth, but the sword and shadow. It is about the survival of the family and will fall into the abyss if you are not careful. But when Haruki said it, he was so casual, as if asking what he was eating today. It made Hyuga and she feel that Hokage is no different from the cat and dog on the side of the road. Thoughts flashed in his mind. With this sentence alone, he can report to Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. Haruki's future life will be extremely difficult. But what's the point? What can Hyuga's family get? The Hokage line relies heavily on them because they are sensible enough. But Hyuga and Ji believe that once the Hyuga family grows, it is Hokage who feels the crisis first. He glanced at Hyuga Hiyashi and saw the solemnity in his eyes. Somehow, he had an illusion that the times had changed. The young people nowadays are really amazing. Haruki-sama, do you want to be Hokage? Hyuga and C asked slowly and cautiously. It's not me, it's Tsunade, Princess Tsunade? Hyuga and C suddenly looked surprised, which was completely different from what he thought. Although he knows that Tsunade is Haruki's girlfriend, Hokage is one of the most powerful positions in the ninja world, and it is hard for him to believe that someone is unmoved. For a while, he hesitated. If it is Haruki, with today's performance, he is willing to take a good destiny. As for betrayal or something, I can't say it. His Hyuga clan is loyal to Hokage, not Sarutobi Hiruzen. But Tsunade always felt a little worse. Perhaps it was the inherent impression brought by the medical ninja, or the princess of the Senju clan was too gambler. I don't need your allegiance. Haruki saw through his thoughts and said with a smile, it's cooperation. There is a saying that there are no eternal friends, only eternal benefits. Hyuga and Cien have different colors. This sentence is very interesting. How to cooperate? He hesitated for a moment and said this, which also meant that he was tempted. This is a long story, and I am not in a hurry now. I will discuss the matter after I draw up the terms. Haruki tells the truth. He didn't expect that Hyuga's house would fall towards him so quickly. However, the terms involve many future issues and should not be rushed. I'm in a hurry. Hyuga and Ji smiled. If Haruki took it out directly, he would definitely suspect that everything in the past few days had been designed. He stood up, bowed and said, today's strategy has made me feel better. The adults are talented and bold, and they are also awe-inspiring. If in the future my Hyuga clan will prosper and prosper, I will go through the fire and water at the command of the adults, and I will not hesitate. Haruki smiled slightly. Worthy of being an old fritters. This sounds very comfortable, but the conditions are also clear. Simply put, a useless nonsense. After sending off Hyuga and his son, Haruki welcomes Oki-kai. The first publicity of Jiraiya's new book begins today. Yes. But it's not the Hyuga's method of spreading rumors. The smile at the corner of Haruki's mouth was a little sarcasm. Now that Lord Shimura Danzo must be crazy and want to find you. Danzo is not only because he suffered a loss, but also because he wants to get the wood style he has been thinking about. Using the same method again, it is too small to look down on the roots. Within a day, you will be caught. Use flyers and posters, Haruki said. Means do not care about oddity, but about usefulness. To advertise it is the simplest and most effective means of propaganda. You hire a group of people to distribute flyers at various intersections, and at the same time to discuss with hot springs, restaurants, etc. We pay, and they allow us to hang posters. Yes. Oki said, should the content include what the adults said, Son of Destiny, save the genius ninja of the ninja world? Well, but the focus is not on this, but on the promotional image. Has the painter I told you to find arrived? I told him to come in. Oki-kai got up, and a few seconds later, a middle-aged man was added. He was wearing a black kimono, standing straight, and his hair was meticulous, as if he had applied hairspray. Haruki nodded slightly. It looks good. My lord, his name is Takashita Yu, and he is a very famous painter in the metropolis of the Country of Fire, who is good at figure painting, Oki said. Master Haruki. Takashita Yu also greeted. Please, Master Takashita. Haruki still believed in Oki-chi's abilities, and did not verify his integrity, and began to talk about his requirements. Takashita, with a cold face, gradually hesitated following Haruki's words. He looked at him with a strange look, and asked, My lord, what you said is too, exposing. After hesitating for a moment, he didn't say the word vulgar. I think it's okay. This. I'm sure again. On the cover, there are 1 male and 6 females. The male blonde is handsome and beautiful, and the female is a black silk with cat ears, an upper half of a human body and a lower half of a snake body, an oran in a kimono, and a tight-fitting one. Gelcoat, a miniskirt and white silk school uniform, a barefoot evening dress, and red high heels with handhooks. Yes, not bad. Haruki suppressed a smile. This is called cover fraud. Just like the instant noodles in the previous life, it smells particularly good, but it tastes a bit difficult. Please refer to the actual product. Takashita twitched the corner of his mouth. He felt that his reputation might be ruined. Master Takashita, don't you want to paint? Haruki saw his hesitation and asked. 3-legged toads are hard to find, but 2-legged painters are quite a lot. If you don't want to, just substitute. Takashita thought for a moment, and said with a heavy face, I have to add more money. Haruki was dumb and looked strange. Unexpectedly, you master is not too serious. Money is not a problem. Haruki waved his hand and said proudly, as long as it satisfies me. The cover is done, and the rest is waiting to see how it works. After Takashita left, Oki-kai asked again, how should the public opinion of the Hyuga family be handled? No need to deal with. The corner of Haruki's mouth smiled. People have always been just a memory of goldfish in matters that have nothing to do with them. It is extremely rare to maintain a week of popularity. Now that we have our new book promotion, a new round of popularity will replace it. This is why he chose the cover of such a detached era. Directly detonate the heat. Simple Konoha. Hey, there is always a feeling of a bad uncle. However, he believes in the power of LSPS. Haruki designed this cover, handsome men and beautiful women, it's just a killer of men and women. Many special needs are also taken into account. All in all, the door to new world is right in front of you. The first round of publicity is only 1 week. Haruki was slightly pensive, and it took too long to keep the heat, and he had 2 subsequent rounds of publicity. Haruki had planned to wait a few more days, but unexpectedly came 1 step ahead of tomorrow. The Katsuyu he placed on Uzumaki Kushina was triggered. Prove that she was fatally injured. Haruki frowned slightly, he was his student anyway. It is impossible to ignore it. At the same time, he felt a little puzzled. With Master Rasengan's Namikaze Minato and 3 Tomo Sharingan's Uchiha Mikoto, the ordinary Jonin no longer poses a threat to them. Haruki began to seal. Flying Thunder God technique. He planted the Flying Thunder God technique on Namikaze Minato beforehand. With his sufficient chakra, he instantly appeared in front of Namikaze Minato. At this time, it was night. The starlight of the river burst suddenly. Namikaze Minato woke up from his contemplation, his face was alert, and he stepped back, until he saw a familiar figure, he stopped quickly. Teacher. How did you? Flying Thunder God. He reacted quickly. Haruki nodded, I noticed Katsuyu's change, what happened to Kushina? Namikaze Minato was silent for a while, showing an apologetic look. It's me being too reckless, he talked about what happened. It's not complicated. After Haruki left, the 3 of them quickly figured out where Tsunade's supplies were stored with Sharingan. They were supposed to return, because they experienced battles one after another, they had a clear understanding of their own strength. Namikaze Minato suggested that they could go further. Destroy the location directly, at least able to complete the A-level mission. In fact, it is exactly the same. It just so happened to receive another notice from Hitaki Shumao that it was broken into pieces. Together, the 3 of them began to make trouble in the rear of Sand Shinobi. In just 2 days, he was in the limelight. The wind went smoothly, making them a little lost. So that after encountering the Abbey combination of Rain Shinobi village, he directly worked with them. In the end, if it weren't for Namikaze Minato's critical moment to break through and learn the second stage of Flying Thunder God, I am afraid the 3 of them would not be able to escape. After Haruki finished listening, he raised his brow. Learn Rasengan in 1 week and Flying Thunder God second stage in 3 days. Who is the protagonist in the end? Don't be frustrated. Haruki rubbed his explosive head. Do you know who the 2 people you met are? One is the future Raikage and the other is 8 Tails Jinchuriki. The 3 of you can escape safely, comparable to Sanin back then. Namikaze Minato was stunned, only as if he was comforting himself. Haruki, who is as famous as Tsunade, is already strong enough to despair. The 3 of them are still far away. That rap guy turned out to be 8 Tails Jinchuriki. Namikaze Minato seemed to have figured out something, and said, no wonder he has been attacking Kushina. For him, Kushina's sealing technique makes him the most threatening. Remember his name is Killer Bee. Haruki teased him and said, the person I like is injured, this place must be found back. Namikaze Minato was a little embarrassed suddenly. But he did not refuse. I learned the second part of Flying Thunder God. See you next time. I won't be so embarrassed again. I'm going to see Kushina. Sunny Tree walked to the tent and opened the curtain. Uzumaki Kushina lay quietly on the bed, his eyes closed, and his immature face was slightly pale, but his expression was not haggard. And Uchiha Mikoto is holding his slender calves in both hands, with his head resting on his knees, as if sleeping in a falsehood. Hearing the sound, he turned his head immediately. The black pupils flashed with surprise. She put her legs down, put on her shoes and socks, and stood in front of Haruki. Teacher, you are here. Be quiet, don't wake her up. Haruki raised his index finger and asked, why don't you go to rest? Kushina couldn't sleep before, I chat with her. Uchiha Makoto looked at Kushina with pity, like her sister's eyes. She herself is a few years older, more mature and stable. Haruki was a little guilty. Kushina must be frightened. Regardless of her future achievements, she is now just a 12-year-old girl who has been on the battlefield for the first time. But after this battle, the three have grown tremendously. Haruki walked to Kushina's body, stretched out his hand, and the light green chakra wandered all over. After a while, he said, Makoto, go and rest, she is fine. Okay, teacher. Uchiha Makoto nodded. Since Haruki said it was okay, it must be okay. She can also breathe a sigh of relief. Minato, you go too. I'm not tired. Namikaze Minato shook his head subconsciously. Haruki glanced at him. The little face is full of worries. He can understand. It's okay to be free, the teacher will teach you a ninjutsu. Haruki lowered the curtain and came to the river bank. You have now learned the second stage of Flying Thunder God. Although it was a little bit beyond my expectations, it proves that your talent is really good. He took out a kunai with the technique of Flying Thunder God posted on it. Flying Thunder God's second stage is used with Rasengan. It is a level ninjutsu. The power is good, but it consumes a lot of chakra. So I now teach you a B-level ninjutsu, Flying Thunder God / After Haruki finished speaking, he threw out kunai in his hand. Namikaze Minato avoided subconsciously. But in an instant Haruki appeared behind him, and kunai held his head. Namikaze Minato opened his eyes wide, so fast. There is almost no room for reaction. This is the first usage. Haruki drew a distance from him, and took out a short sword from the storage scroll. Notice. As soon as Namikaze Minato heard these two words in his ear, he felt a pain in his heart. Haruki and him passed next to each other. Short sword was pointing at his heart. As if to pierce the clothes in the next moment, blood flowed through the body. Leave the Flying Thunder God technique on the enemy beforehand, and you can kill him silently. Namikaze Minato wiped the sweat from his head, and he really felt the invisible killing intent. The third usage. Haruki stepped back and threw a kunai from his shoulder bag. High speed. But slower than the first time. After Namikaze Minato was printed, body flicker technique avoided. Haruki raised his hand slightly. The thin steel wire drew kunai, suddenly turned into a black streamer. Namikaze Minato's eyes narrowed. It was originally one, but suddenly became countless. Suddenly it was like a blooming night flower. There are sharp waves of air all around the edges. Wind-style great breakthrough. Namikaze Minato opened his mouth and let out a blue whirlwind. The crisp voice suddenly sounded one after another. The steel wire broke, and kuwu was scattered, and with a gust of wind, the mud on the river bank was covered with kuwu. Namikaze Minato didn't dare to relax. While waiting for the next wave of attacks, Haruki's body disappeared, and a white flash of light filled his vision. Short sword lay on his neck. The cold touch made Namikaze Minato's body stiff. How come? There is obviously no Flying Thunder God technique on Kumaru. The number is just to cover people's eyes and ears. Haruki picked up a kunai behind him, and he took it apart lightly, revealing the technique from it. Soldiers don't get deceitful. The ninjutsu of the Flying Thunder God series is about weirdness. I see, teacher. Namikaze Minato nodded seriously. Early the next morning, the hazy mist was pierced by warm sunlight. Haruki was standing on the bank of the river, stretching his body. Not far away, Namikaze Minato is still training, but because he hasn't slept all night, his energy is a little sluggish. Haruki knew that Uzumaki Kushina's injury caused him to blame himself, so he wanted to improve his strength as soon as possible. There is one thing to say, the current Namikaze Minato is enough to be called Jonin. And unlike Jonin, who was promoted rapidly during the war, he really had Jonin's combat power. Haruki glanced at him and didn't stop. With a bucket of clean river water, he began to cook. Teacher. Uzumaki Kushina didn't know when he woke up, and when he left the tent, he saw Haruki. After confirming, a Luffy ran and hugged him. Morning. Haruki saw the tears in her eyes and couldn't help touching her long red hair. Morning. Early, teacher. After a while, Uzumaki Kushina realized that he was embarrassed and took 2 steps back. Go and ask Makoto to come over for dinner. Haruki relieved her embarrassment at the right time. Okay. Kushina immediately turned around, and after running for a while, wiped the corners of her eyes before entering Uchiha Makoto's tent. Hitaki Tsukumo listened to Haruki's advice and broke it down. A team of 3 or 4 people wandered around the camp where Sand Shinobi was stationed. This riverside tent is a temporary resting place built by Namikaze Minato. During the march, naturally there was nothing good to eat. Haruki had already expected it. Remove the table, chairs and a set of cutlery from the storage reel. 4 bowls of lean meat porridge were placed, with a faint aroma permeating. Uzumaki Kushina's eyes lit up. The food she ate these few days was so crude that she missed Haruki's craftsmanship very much. I'll start. Uzumaki Kushina couldn't wait to pick up the white rice spoon. Well. Cut into pieces of lean meat, mixed with the fragrance of lettuce, under the catalysis of rice, a refreshing and sweet taste goes straight to the taste buds, and after swallowing, it produces warmth, and the whole body seems to be surrounded by sunlight. It was so delicious that I couldn't help crying. Uzumaki Kushina couldn't help thinking. She raised her head subconsciously, but met Haruki's eyes, couldn't help but flushed her cheeks, and hurriedly dealt with the lean meat porridge to divert her attention. Haruki stroked his chin. Not only Kushina, but the other 2 also reacted with excitement. Make him wonder if he should burst his clothes in the next moment? It seems that the food for these 3 little guys has been a bit difficult in recent days. Now it's during the battle again, it's very likely that the food will be soldiers' grain pills. Thinking that he had eaten Liang pill for the first time, he was almost sent away directly. The Liang pill that Haruki gave them for training ninjutsu is an improved version, and the taste will still be good. But here at Hitaki Tsukumo, well, thinking about it, it feels very miserable. It is not an exaggeration to describe it as heaven to hell. Teacher, another bowl. Uzumaki Kushina blinked her beautiful black eyes and handed the bowl a little shyly. Minato. Haruki winked. I come. Namikaze Minato immediately took the bowl. Haruki raised his eyebrows, and suddenly he realized that Uzumaki Kushina didn't hate Minato that much anymore. According to the past, she might say something like my teacher. But now she didn't care that much, and thanked Minato. Sure enough, see the true love in adversity. The more you experience life and death, the more profound feelings can be formed. Haruki smiled relievedly. There is a feeling of ripening cabbage in the garden. A breakfast was finished in a happy atmosphere. After Haruki cleaned the dishes, Hitaki finally arrived. Meet a few Sand Shinobi, it wasted time. It can make you waste time, so it's Jonin? Hitaki Tsukumo and Minato waved their hands to say hello. He continued. The method you mentioned has achieved very good results in the past 2 days, but Tsunade also responded promptly after the heavy losses. They are now gathering on the sandy beach of Shinagawa River, using ninjutsu to build a sand wall was set up. In addition, they organized the Jonin team, which actually posed a big threat to us. This response is also clever. Haruki nodded, but then asked again, they concentrated their strength in one place, didn't they give up the possibility of a quick solution to us? Well. The situation is even more stalemate now. Tsunade is already smaller than ours. No matter how hard it is to send reinforcements to support. And I heard from the people in Anbu that the people in Tsunade seem to want a truce. They can't make a profit, so there is nothing wrong with the idea. Haruki was not surprised. At this time, the Second Ninja World War was coming to an end, and it was almost time to end, ushering in a few years of recuperation. After the third Kazekage disappears, the prelude to the war will begin again. There is also news. Now Sand Shinobi's commander is called Yumura Shiki. He is considered a high-level Tsunade. His son is one of the ninjas who had disappeared before. Haruki's eyes narrowed slightly. So, I still have 1/3 of the credit? Where are the 2 guys from Cloud Shinobi Village now? They are like Tsunade's Jonin team, relying on their own speed to hunt us everywhere. Hitaki Tsukumo was a little annoyed. After you left, I played against them again. Their purpose is probably to exercise their ninjutsu. Haruki suddenly remembered Abi's combo skill, double lariat. Maybe it's really their purpose. If Cloud Shinobi Village wants to start a war, there are more than 2 people. Haruki took out the map. Sand Shinobi's current station is very close to Shinagawa. He suddenly had some ideas. You said they built a sand wall, can we enter through the tunnel? Typical. Hitaki Tsukumo was slightly startled when he heard this novel idea, should be discovered by their perception ninja? Perception has a range, and they don't expect ninjas to adopt such a method. Besides, I am not letting our ninjas in, but letting the river water. Haruki drew a circle around Sand Shinobi's camp. They originally planned to use the power of the terrain, but the river beach is low-lying. If we use river water, they can be submerged. Hitaki Tsukumo probably understood what he meant, but quickly questioned. Ordinary river water is of little use to ninjas, but we don't have many ninjas using water style. You are right. Haruki nodded in agreement, but after a turn of his voice, he said, Water-style ninja controls the flood attack, which is only the first offensive. What's the second way? Lightning style. Thunder borrows water, it is more powerful, and it is all water at the moment. If a powerful lightning-style ninja attacks it, the effect will naturally be earth-shattering. But where are we lightning-style ninjas? Hitaki couldn't help asking. Although there are lightning-style ninjas in Konoha village, there are basically no strong ones. Really, Sarutobi Hiruzen counts, however, he basically won't be on the battlefield. In addition to this, so will his son Kakashi in the future. But now he is only 4 years old and has not yet graduated. Aobi. Haruki said 2 unexpected names. Namikaze Minato held the kunai that Haruki gave. Holding his breath, he looked at the 2 ninjas in the distance. Ai and Killer Bee. Both of them are dark-skinned and burly, but Killer Bee is shorter, wears glasses, and carries double knives on his back. The flames were roasting the thighs of unknown animals. The aroma is pervasive. The 2 were feasting. The 3 Go Jade in Uchiha Makoto's eyes were slowly rotating. After a while, a faintly invisible green flash rose from a very distant place. Minato, teacher's signal. Namikaze Minato nodded slightly. After a few days of arrangement, Haruki's plan officially began. The task of the 3 of them is to lead Ai and Killer Bee to the vicinity of Sand Shinobi's resident, and force them to do their best. Kushina, you have to be careful, I suspect you are being targeted by them. Uchiha Makoto reminded. She is a few years older and knows more about Jinchuriki. The Uzumaki clan is not only a seal-restraining tail beast, but also an extremely suitable Jinchuriki. Now the country of the vortex is destroyed. Uzumaki Kushina is the only seedling. Got it. Kushina replied. Start to act. Namikaze Minato saw that the 2 of them were ready, immediately stood up and ran in a certain direction. Uzumaki Kushina showed chakra fluctuations in good time. Killer Bee stopped chewing immediately. The eyes under the sunglasses looked forward. Brother, the 3 little ghosts I met a few days ago, they didn't seem to notice us, they just passed by. Oh? I put down her thigh for barbecue. The villagers said that the little girl from the Uzumaki clan is very useful, and try to take her back. He wiped the oil from his hands at random. Thunder flashes. The dazzling chakra rises from under his feet, passes through his body, and forms the shape of a flame. The ground suddenly cracked. The dust shook, and he cut through the air like a katana shone with thunder and lightning. Almost instantaneously, it has arrived in front of Uzumaki Kushina. The airwaves surged, and several amazing electric lights surrounded his right hand. Ai showed murderous intent. Without the slightest pity, a hand knife suddenly fell. But with the sound of metal colliding, the hand knife hits kunai. Namikaze Minato pushed open hard, and the kunai of his left hand pierced Ai's neck directly. Ai glanced at it. Such kuwu could not break his lightning-style armor. Regardless of him, his right arm was raised high, and the blue chakra wrapped his elbow, like the hardest weapon, and slammed into Namikaze Minato's head. Namikaze Minato's left hand flew up without a shock. Ai's attack also arrived almost at the same time. The air was dull and loud. A terrifying force was delivered from the impact and directly slammed Namikaze Minato's head. But as the smoke rose, Namikaze Minato turned into a wooden stake. Brother, be careful. Killer Bee slashed Uchiha Makoto's great fireball with one knife. The tail vertebra on his back wriggled, and a big flesh-colored tail emerged. It blocked Namikaze Minato, who suddenly appeared above Ai's head at an extremely fast speed. Rasengan landed on his tail, and the layers of wind and waves were extremely sharp, leaving a bloody wound. Killer Bee suddenly took a breath from the pain. The tail retracted. He jumped back, at a very fast speed, like a vigorous ape, completely avoiding Uchiha Makoto's Phoenix Fire technique. At this time, his body suddenly stiffened for an instant. It's Sharingan. As soon as Killer Bee thought about it, he saw several chakra chains suddenly rise, trying to entangle him. What an annoying sealing technique. He clearly felt the discomfort of 8 tails in his body, and chakra became active along the veins, and a red coat wrapped him. An unimaginable coercion gushed out. Killer Bee's speed increased again. Directly escaped the chains of sealing technique. Under the coat of the tail beast, his body has greatly improved. The secret Uzumaki Kushina didn't see it, and he quickly locked onto Uchiha Makoto not far away. Her pair of scarlet Sharingan is daunting. But what surprised and shocked him most was the battle between his elder brother and Namikaze Minato. Soon the eyes can't keep up at all. They were the 2 fastest men he had ever seen. Ai has such a speed, he naturally won't be shocked. But what is going on with that kid? In just a few days, he has grown to this point. Thoughts passed away. A layer of thunder appeared on his body. The whole person crashed into Uchiha Makoto. It's like a sky thunder. Uchiha Makoto has almost no reaction time. Her Sharingan barely caught the trace. But it is of no use, she disappeared in the next moment. With Killer Bee. Compare? I noticed this inexplicable scene in an instant. My heart was tight, but then I realized something. Is it your technique? He looked at Namikaze Minato. In just a few minutes of fighting, he met his rival. A ninja who can fully keep up with his lightning-style chakra mode. Change the battlefield. Namikaze Minato smiled slightly. He raised his hand, and one of the kunai scattered all over the place lit up. I didn't react at all, and was drawn into a strange space. Water. Flood. And accompanied by various screams. I frowned and suddenly floated on the water. He looked around for a week, and on the left was the battle of Killer Bee and Uchiha Makoto. Putting on the coat of the tail beast, he has the upper hand. Unless Sharingan evolves, it will be difficult to win. But the unique sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan also made him a little jealous. And further away, Sand Shinobi stepped on the surface of the water, and was blasting against the Konoha Shinobi on high. Many bodies of Sand Shinobi floated on the surface of the water. It seemed that he was suddenly attacked and was forced to fight back. Come. Namikaze Minato hooked his finger. I suddenly snorted and stopped thinking about Sand Shinobi's situation. After all, it has nothing to do with him, it's good to be dead. But. A few minutes later, he said angrily, "Little devil, do you know to hide everywhere?" Namikaze Minato's figure retreated again. He led I, scurrying around in the Sand Shinobi group. I-Da opened and closed the attack, and in a few minutes, at least a dozen Sand Shinobi were seriously injured. But the most annoying thing is that no one can catch up to them both. Namikaze Minato does not ask, but concentrates on his task. Such an exaggerated scene was naturally noticed by the ninjas of Konoha village. Good fight. Hitaki Tsukumo is one of the few people who knows Namikaze Minato's identity. After all, he is not very famous now. Haruki nodded slightly. Namikaze Minato really surprised him, but now he has other things to do. Everyone doesn't need to care about chakra's consumption. Use long-range ninjutsu to suppress Sand Shinobi. Don't worry, you won't be able to hurt Namikaze Minato. When Hitaki heard the words, he repeated it immediately. He is the commander after all. The firepower is more rapid. If there are no accidents in enough time, Sand Shinobi will lose a lot. However, Haruki's backhand is more than that. The water attack lightning style is all told to Hitaki Tsukumo. The ubiquitous water really spread I's lightning style attack. But he is mainly based on physical skills. In fact, it can't achieve the effect of lightning style ultimate like Kirin. Under the water, in an unattended corner. Haruki's clone is Injian. It is adamantine sealing chains of Class A. He learned the sealing technique from Uzumaki Kushina these days. He glanced at Uzumaki Kushina. She is also sealing, the same adamantine sealing chains. Little girl, the same technique is useless to me. Killer Bee noticed the chains on the water and knew it was the ninja of the Uzumaki clan in secret. Had it not been her trouble, he would have taken the Uchiha guy in front of him. However, the chain accelerated instantly. A series of tremors exploded on the surface of the water. Countless chains are like countless spiritual water snakes, swarming towards him. How can it be? A huge crisis appeared in Killer Bee's mind. It will happen if caught. He gritted his teeth slightly. It's just a little girl, it should be impossible to really lock the tail beast. In an instant, scarlet airwaves surged, and the heart-palpitating chakra glow flashed up and down all over the body. Thick and ugly tentacles emerged one after another. His figure swelled rapidly. A roar resounded through the space. All the ninjas stopped their movements, swiftly and sluggishly, looking at this huge octopus. It uses the power of the water to set off huge waves. However, the chains on its body still did not break free. Damn it. Damn it. Killer Bee, it's not her, there's another person here. Inside Killer Bee's sealed space, Eight Tails Gyuki roared frantically. Haruki carefully controlled the chain, so as not to completely lock Eight Tails because of chakra input too much. I have to say that the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan has an absolute advantage when facing the tail beast. No wonder Uzumaki Kushina was able to trap 9 tails with this adamantine sealing chains. But at this time, he was a little worried that the effect of this sealing technique was too good. Under Ryuryu's control, Killer Bee and Eight Tails always felt that as long as they needed to add a little more chakra, they could break free. So the huge 8 tails turned upside down in the river. The tail with nowhere to put, with one after another wave, swept across the entire river beach. Tsunade completely collapsed. Many ninjas can't run 8 tails at all. Ai and Namikaze Minato, who were at war, stopped tacitly. Ai frowned when she saw Killer Bee, which was completely beastly-tailed. Has a problem. With that little Uzumaki girl, it would never be possible to perform such an exaggerated adamantine ceiling chains. He turned around and pursued Eight Tails. On the other hand, Namikaze Minato brought Uchiha Makoto and Uzumaki Kushina, who floated up to the bottom, using the Flying Thunder God technique, and suddenly appeared on the high slope. Teacher, fortunately not insulting my life. Namikaze Minato changed his calmness during the battle, and said slightly excited. After all, it is a child's character. Moreover, completing the S-level mission this time will add a lot of color to his resume. Just from the eyes of the Konoha shinobi who is still nearby, you can see how incredible this is. He is only 10 years old. Good job, Haruki said. It's more than good. Hitaki Tsukumo looked at Namikaze Minato with a surprised look. Thinking of his previous performance, he was a little ashamed. He was far worse when he was 10 years old. After this battle, you will surely become famous in the ninja world. Haruki frowned. Hitaki said it made no difference. After all, the appearance of Eight Tails and the destruction and capture of nearly 1,000 people in Tsunade have had a huge impact. And the most brilliant Namikaze Minato will definitely be known. Just like Konoha's White Fang. Besides, he is too young. Haruki suddenly thought of a word. My apprentice Minato has Hokage. In the distance, Eight Tails was still struggling. But with Ai's help, the lock link nearly broke. Tsunade is not enough, but Aihebi needs to be careful. As Hitaki Tsukumo spoke, he drew out short sword with his right hand. The speed was extremely fast. Sword and chakra sank into the air. 10 meters away, a fleeing sand shinobi suddenly split. Not only him, but the other Konoha shinobi are all chasing sand shinobi with excitement. This is a feat of movement. Their morale has been lost, and they have become dogs of the bereaved family. Haruki watched Ai and Killer Bee, and with a thought, the wood clone under the water dissipated. Killer Bee roared up to the sky. 8 huge tails plunged into the flood. Brings countless boiling torrents. The river beach completely changed. The station and sand wall built by Tsunade are reduced to ruins. He ran away. Killer Bee was a little angry, and the 8 tails missed the target at all. Let's go. I looked at the ninjas around Konoha, especially stayed on Namikaze Minato for a while, made a decisive decision and stopped staying. Konoha's White Fang alone can embarrass both of them. Besides, there is a fellow who knows how to seal in secret. In case 8 tails were lost here, he would not apologize for his death. Haruki and others watched them leave. There is no pursuit. There is no need. With 8 tails left, Rain Shinobi Village is bound to go to war. Konoha Village can no longer withstand the baptism of war. Without the control of the water-style ninja, the water gradually faded. A mess was left behind. The stumbling corpse was mixed with mud and sand, lying on the river beach. 2 adults, the battlefield is cleaned up. Haruki glanced at the report behind Anbu. There were about 100 sand shinobi prisoners. At that time, Tsunade will exchange. If you want to come to Konoha, you will get some benefits. Speaking of which, although Konoha in the original work is a victor in every ninja battle, his strength has not been improved much. Not to mention the unified ninja world. The final reason is that Konoha's internal friction and foreign war losses are too great. Haruki put away his thoughts. Hitaki Shumo takes care of the rest. He is just an ordinary medical ninja. Go back to each house and do whatever you need to do. Pulling the 3 of Minato, a flying thunder god technique went directly to Konoha. Teacher, this ninjutsu is so convenient. It's a pity that I can't learn it. When Uzumaki Kushina saw the familiar Hokage rock, the tension that had been going on for many days disappeared and people became lively. After I learn, Kushina, where you want to go, I will take you there. Namikaze Minato said immediately. After speaking, she was still a little nervous, waiting for Kushina's response. Humph. Wait until you learn. Uzumaki Kushina pouted and was a little dissatisfied. Is this guy mocking whether he can learn Flying Thunder God technique? Soon. Namikaze Minato patted his chest and promised. Seeing Kushina's expression, Haruki couldn't help shaking his head. Minato, what about your EQ? Love really easily makes people lose their minds. You 3 little guys go back and rest. Okay, goodbye teacher. After the 3 of them left, Haruki jumped down from Hokage Rock, and a poster was posted at a restaurant not far away. It is in promoting Jiraiya's new book. Not sure about the effectiveness? Haruki thought for a while and entered the hotel. Although a few days passed, he still heard the discussion. What's so good about human beings? I like that snake girl the most. Although people are free to like, I suggest you go see a medical ninja. The maid with cat ears is really cute. I heard that there is a ninja clan. I have a bold idea. Can you say that they can become humans? I think you'd better not do this, because you may not be able to beat them, and they have money. Hey, obviously the Oran is the most gorgeous. Haruki listened for a while, and sure enough, when talking about this kind of thing, he was more positive than anything else. He came to new Konoha bookstore. I found that many people were asking the store clerk when Jiraiya's new book would be on the shelves. There are both civilians and ninjas. Although I don't know the specific content, it is also worth buying with the name of one of Sanin, Jiraiya. Besides, the cover of the promotion is really a member of my generation. Haruki suddenly wondered if Jiraiya's intimate paradise could be publicized. It seems a bit too much, Master Haruki. Oki-kai noticed him and hurried forward. Good job. Haruki and him entered the backyard. How many bookstores have you acquired now? 9, almost halfway through. Konoha village doesn't have too many bookstores. Haruki was not surprised. Konoha, which is dominated by ninjas, is an insignificant industry like bookstores, and it's normal to rarely. After a week, you can expand to the country of fire. The purpose of the sunny tree is naturally more than Konoha. How much can Konoha make? I'm afraid it's less than 10% of the country of fire. As for the time of the week, he inferred the end of the war. At that time, the situation is stable and commercial activities can be carried out. This is also his plan. Taking advantage of the past few years, get some money first. After Tsunade takes the lead, there will be a lot of money to spend. After all, it is not so easy to transform a country. The news of the victory in the war quickly spread back to Konoha. Without Haruki's help, Namikaze Minato, one of the protagonists, became hot, no less than the original Sanin. Mainly Minato is too young. A super genius has a strong topicality no matter when and where. Just like the college entrance examination champion in the previous life. 2 more days later, Tsunade Book of Reconciliation was sent to Konoha, representing the temporary arrival of peace. There followed a meeting similar to the sharing of spoils. The main thing is the exchange of prisoners in compensation. Haruki did not participate, but Hyuga Kazuji, under his hint, hoped to conduct business with Tsunade on the grounds of losing 40 ninjas. Sarutobi Hiruzen agreed to this request in order to appease the Hyuga family. What's more, the 2 countries and the 2 villages have maintained certain transactions. Although I don't know why the Hyuga family made such a request, Tsunade, the poorest one, would naturally not refuse. As for how poor it is, in the past, first Kazekage faced Senju Hashirama and others at the 5 Shadows Conference, and dared to propose that the tailbeast should be replaced by the Land of Fire, and the money from other countries to buy the tailbeast was so outrageous. To 4th Kazekage Luosha had to rely on his own magnet style to sell placer gold for a living. Several wars have been provoked because of poverty. Give it a try, a bicycle becomes a motorcycle. Unfortunately, they all failed. In the Gara period, they finally hugged Konoha village's thighs and barely developed. And Haruki valued commercial trade. It is placer gold in some other desert industries, such as grapes. In his opinion, just selling placer gold is really a huge waste. Change to the jewelry industry, a lot of money. Especially there are nobles in this world. It is quite easy to swindle money to create the concept of luxury goods. Tsunade wanted money, Haruki gave it. Adapting measures to local conditions and economic trade, this is what the previous flower growers are best at. He didn't believe that Tsunade would fall to him under such great benefits. Teacher? What kind of animal is this? So cute. As soon as Uzumaki Kushina entered the door, he saw Haruki stroking a furry creature. It has a reddish color and a pale golden color. It looks like a small dog, but has larger ears. The fennec fox, also called the desert fox, was brought by Tsunade. Seeing her staring at the little fox, Haruki couldn't help turning away. Uzumaki Kushina immediately stepped forward and picked it up. The expression on his small face was serious and focused, and his eyes seemed to be gleaming. Sure enough, girls have no resistance to cute animals. Teacher, what do you raise it for? Uzumaki Kushina gently rubbed its silky hair with his hands. And the little fox is probably also very comfortable. From time to time, she raised her head and rubbed her little hand, and occasionally made a yelling and yo-yo sound. Experiment. The teacher was missing an experiment subject because he was going to teach students in the medical class. Tsunade just gave a fox. What? Uzumaki Kushina suddenly raised his head, pouting at Haruki. Teacher, you are too much. It's okay. Don't you believe the teacher's medical ninjutsu? Even if it dies, I can save it. No. Uzumaki Kushina guards the little fox, like her cub. Haruki saw her look that seemed to be performing justice, and suddenly felt like a big villain. Then what do you want to do? Of course it is to raise it. You raise? I raise it. In order to show his determination, Uzumaki Kushina deliberately straightened his body and looked very firm. The fox is not a cactus. You can live by watering it. It is very troublesome to feed it. And it may be very grumpy. By then, your beautiful face and tender skin will be covered with scratches. Haruki, he touched his chin and said. Uzumaki Kushina showed a tangled expression at first, but then glared suddenly. Teacher, don't lie to me. I'm a ninja. How could I be hurt by it? Haruki thought for a while and smiled. If you like it, I will give it to you. Real? Uzumaki Kushina leaned forward slightly and confirmed with Haruki. Teacher, you are one of the famous Konoha Schwangbi, you can't go back. Of course not. Thank you, teacher. Uzumaki Kushina smiled suddenly, holding the little fox, jumping and humming and leaving the office happily. Haruki was also infected by her and couldn't help smiling. I hope she will like the Fox of Nine Tails in the future. It's a coincidence, he didn't do it intentionally. The head of Tsunade, who came this time, specially sent some special products to the major families in order to be more advantageous in the negotiation. Haruki picked up the medical textbook written by Tsunade and started his first class. With the end of the war, the ninja returns to Konoha, and after a while, he and Tsunade no longer have to go to classes in person, ushering in a couple's time that no one disturbs. After the class, he received a notice from Damuzi. The sample version of Jiraiya's new book is ready. Quite fast. Haruki picked up the new book, whose cover was extraordinarily simple compared to the poster. This is specially customized by him. The material is expensive. I flipped through it, and it looks good, so he didn't say anything, and came to Hokage Pavilion. Because of preparations for peace talks, here is a busy scene. After waiting for a while, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally had time to meet him. Master Hokage. Haruki greeted. Haruki, what can I do for you? Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes fell on his hand. What masterpiece did you write? You guessed wrong this time. Haruki handed the book up. It's Jiraiya's masterpiece. Jiraiya. Sarutobi Hiruzen accidentally heard the name of this apprentice who was wandering outside, and couldn't help but laugh and curse. This guy has time to write novels and no time to return to Konoha. He also collects information for Konoha. Haruki said. In the original work, Jiraiya is not only about going out to collect materials or looking for the son of prophecy. Sarutobi Hiruzen is of course not to blame. He quite likes the three apprentices, especially Orochimaru. Even though the human experiment was conducted in violation of the regulations, he did not kill the killer after the first discovery. Sarutobi Hiruzen flipped through a few pages and couldn't help but smile. As expected, it was written by Jiraiya. The character of the protagonist is somewhat similar to him. He has to inherit Hokage and change the world of ninja. I'll read it later when I have time. Sarutobi Hiruzen closed the book. You didn't come here specifically to send novels, right? There is indeed a little thing that requires Hokage-sama's help. I opened a bookstore with Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru, and this book is our first novel. I hope Hokage-sama will help us promote it. Me? Sarutobi Hiruzen was a little curious, but didn't refuse. How to promote? Just mention it casually in the recent Jonin meeting. So simple? One more photo is needed. Haruki immediately took out the old-fashioned camera from the storage scroll. Please make a reading posture. Konoha Orphanage. The 5-year-old Kentaro got up very early today. The sunlight outside the window had just risen, and it was thin and cold, as if he hadn't finished eating the somewhat cooling egg yolk. Mother Yinayu. He changed his clothes, saw Yukushi no at the door, and shouted. Called sister. Yinayu frowned and corrected. She walked to Kentaro's body, helped him arrange his collar, and patted her chest and back again, and the folds of her clothes immediately became smooth. Elder sister. Kentaro shouted reluctantly. He prefers to call her mother, but Yinayu doesn't like it. She hasn't fallen in love and got married yet. Go call someone else. Yinayu also knew his thoughts, so he knocked his forehead helplessly. Okay. Kentaro jumped out of bed, put on his shoes quickly, and screamed as he ran down the corridor, get up in the sun. He still learned this sentence from Dean Haruki. It became lively in the morning. Yinayu and other nurses put milk, bread, egg xiaolongbao, etc. on the 10-meter-long dining table in the lighted hall. After a while, nearly 100 children filled the 3 long tables one after another. With an order from Yinayu, breakfast began. The fireplace burned vigorously, dispelling the only chill in April. Can't be picky eaters. Nanoyu seemed to be patrolling around the dining table. Kentaro, if you dare not eat egg yolk today, I will tell Master Haruki. I will eat it. Kentaro shuddered. Director Haruki treated them very well, but he was super harsh when they encountered problems. If you were angry, it is even more terrifying. He took a deep breath. bit off half of the egg yolk, and quickly poured another sip of milk. The tangled expression seems to be facing a life or death decision. Yi Naiyu nodded in satisfaction. When Haruki found her and said that she was going to open an orphanage, she thought he was just on a whim. But I didn't expect the level of support to be surprising. These little guys had a happier life than her younger ones. She remembered what Haruki often said. I have to say, Haruki-sama is really kind. Under Yi Naiyu's fiery eyes, an enjoyable breakfast was finished. President Haruki has given you a task. She cleared her throat, and the voice immediately caught the children's attention. When they heard the word Haruki again, they were all a little excited. Children in the Hokage world are more precocious. They knew who brought their life today, and it was a great thing to be able to help Haruki. Yi Naiyu didn't talk nonsense, and brought a stack of newspapers directly. Today's class was cancelled and changed to social practice. The newspaper was run by your dean Haruki. A newspaper is worth 12 taels, and 1 or 2 of them are used as your pocket money. The more you sell, the more pocket money you get. Great. Marvelous. Long live the dean. The cheers exploded instantly. A bowl of ramen is 60 taels, and a D-level mission is at least 5,000 taels. 1 tael is naturally not many, but the quantity is considerable. Moreover, as orphans, they have no economic income themselves. Of course, money is of secondary importance, and being able to help the dean is most important. I want 100 copies. When it was Kentaro's turn, he raised a finger and said. Can you move it? Yi Naiyu asked suspiciously. Sister, don't underestimate me. Kentaro rolled up his sleeves, clenched his fists, and squeezed out his biceps. The dean said that I can go to the ninja school when I enroll next time. Yi Naiyu was amused by his small muscles, but she was a little surprised. Becoming a ninja is easy, but it takes a lot of resources and time. In order to be more rewarding, the 5 ninja villages basically abandoned ordinary people with ordinary talents, and chose the ninja family with blood and talents. A big family like Uchiha is almost the same. Those who do not open their eyes are either married within the clan or engaged in business activities to make money to support the family. As Haruki said, Kentaro's talent must be pretty good. She distributed all the newspapers, and then asked people to notify Haruki, who would then send people to pay attention to their safety. Yi Naiyu picked up a newspaper curiously. The most eye-catching place is written in the 4 characters of Konoha Daily. The newspaper has the smell of ink. It is 42 centimeters long and 30 centimeters wide, and is divided into 4 sections. The name of the first section is Konoha and Hokage. Yi Naiyu quickly scanned the content. The first part is about Konoha's victory in the war with Tsunade, but in the second half, Jiraiya's new book is mentioned. There is a picture in the middle. 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen read with a book in the warm yellow light, his face extremely serious. The following is a line of small print. The legendary Sanin, Jiraiya's new book, Hokage-sama, is an awesome novel studied day and night. Yi Naiyu suddenly had a strong desire to buy. Both Jiraiya and Sarutobi Hiruzen are role models among ninjas. She resisted the sudden thought and continued to look down. The next 3 sections are food, people's livelihood, and novel stories. Yi Naiyu couldn't help but open her eyes. She never knew that Konoha had so many interesting things. Changes in food prices, vegetables from the country of rain, newly opened restaurants, a ramen restaurant where a big appetite contest is in progress, a chicken thief Genin is chased by a chicken to escape, the legend of a mermaid in the distant waters of the country of water. With the unique content, accompanied by the humming of the children in the orphanage, la la la. La la la. I am a small expert who sells newspapers. Konoha Daily spreads in the streets and alleys, like a burning spark, connecting in the night sky. Sarutobi Hiruzen also got a newspaper. He was smoking a pipe, his eyes trance. When Haruki asked him to cooperate with the publicity yesterday, he didn't say that he would come up with such a thing. But the first section fits his mind very well. Mentioned his farsightedness in the war and his reasoned struggle in negotiations. An extremely glorious image. But Sarutobi Hiruzen hesitated a little. He instinctively felt that such a thing should be in his hands by the master. This kid can always come up with new tricks, which is a headache. He smiled and shook his head, but after all, he didn't do anything. He is at his peak now, and even Danzo can grasp it, not to mention these. So far, this newspaper does no harm to him. Uchiha Ethnic Land. Less than a day in the past, Uchiha Makoto has deeply felt the changes the family has made to her. Especially the people of the same generation as her. The eyes looking at her were both curious and fearful. As Namikaze Minado's fame spread, as his teammate, Uchiha Makoto was as high profile as Uzumaki Kushina. It was also confirmed that she fought 8 tails Jinchuriki with 3 Tomo Sharingan. Now she and Uchiha Fugaku have become the two great geniuses of the Uchiha clan. This is a change she did not anticipate. Haruki stayed at Shin Konoha bookstore all day, waiting for the sales of Konoha daily. At dusk, Damuzi opened the door and ran into the room. The joy on his face couldn't be suppressed. He didn't care about panting, and shouted loudly. Sold. Nearly 10,000 copies sold, all sold out. When Haruki heard this number, he was a little surprised. It is not that he has no confidence in the newspaper, but that new things appear, often accompanied by doubts. He thought it would take a while to accept. This is all due to the adults, Omuzi added in due course. No need to talk flattering nonsense. Haruki shook his head, interrupting him. Did I do what I told you to do? Done. After the newspaper sold out, I invited the children in the orphanage to dinner. Well, it will be the same in the future, but they are not enough. You can hire more workers. Okay. Okiji nodded. After each issue of the Konoha Daily is typeset, I must first go through it, and if there is no problem, then print it. Haruki mainly worried that they would touch the bottom line of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. Especially Shimura Danzo. Although not afraid, but secretly makes stumbling too annoying. Do I have to think of a way? Haruki thought about whether to let them both go to see their teacher Senju Tobarama in advance. He returned home. Open the door and see Tsunade wearing clothes. An overall white knight armor with red edges. The lower part is a short red skirt and a pair of long white stockings underneath. At first glance, the armor is not very serious. After Haruki looked at it for a while, he suddenly felt familiar, and he woke up. This was the clothes of the heroine Asuna in Sword Art Online. But the size is wrong. He could not help but sigh when he saw the swollen front armor. Suffer. But he didn't say anything, he smiled and watched her tossing. After trying several times, Tsunade finally realized that it didn't seem to be for himself, because it was uncomfortable. She took off her armor and noticed Haruki's expression. She immediately sat on the chair, raised her thighs, and folded her arms around her chest. Frankly explain, which little fairy is it for? Haruki glanced at the snow-white socks, and had to say they looked really good. Just as he was about to explain, the system he hadn't had any movement in a long time finally came back to life. Girlfriend Tsunade wears a cuz suit for the first time, and is rewarded with the Sword Art Online series of novels. This is also okay? Haruki was a little surprised. He thought he could only get things related to the ninja world. It's just you. Can you please come earlier? Fortunately, I wasted time specifically recalling the plot of the anime. Haruki? Tsunade's eyes gradually turned bad. Haruki's dumbfoundedness seemed hesitant to her. Broken. After he recovered, he remembered that he was still facing Tsunade's question. When interrupted by the system, doesn't it appear to be a guilty conscience? I can explain. Haruki hurriedly sat next to her. Seeing that she was still stern, her eyes rolled. I was slow to reply just now, and I will give you a massage to make amends. After speaking, he held Tsunade's feet, took off the stockings, and kneaded her bare feet. Tsunade's face was a little stretched, but she still tried to keep her sullen tone. Don't change the subject. Where is it? I'm sympathetic to my girlfriend for a tiring day. Haruki would never admit to changing the subject. He smiled and said, remember the Shin Konoha bookstore that I asked you to invest in a few days ago? Remember. But what does the bookstore have to do with clothes? Tsunade glared at him for a day. Don't be glib, just tell me. This suit is for the heroine of the new novel to be published in the bookstore. I customized it in advance to hold a party. Really? The doubt on Tsunade's face is not reduced by half. She doesn't quite understand cosplay or stage play. Haruki organized the language and talked about the comic exhibition of the previous life. This is a novelty. Tsunade thought carefully for a moment. If the characters in the novel she likes can be reproduced in reality, she should be very interested. I don't know where you got so many new tricks. Occasionally. Haruki asked casually, is this level of strength okay? Not bad. After listening to the explanation, Tsunade believed him for the time being, enjoying his service, and simply lay on the sofa, putting two long legs on his lap. What did you do today? Haruki couldn't help asking, seeing her look a little tired. It's still the same. Tenten is in class. Those little guys are really worried. Tsunade closed his eyes and said casually. This is true. Haruki felt the same way, and dealing with bear children was quite exhausting. But, he believes in Shang Shang, who dare to make trouble in his class will not end well. Tsunade stopped talking. The hall was quiet. After a while, Haruki heard her steady breathing. Fell asleep? He flashed this thought and stopped his movements. The light is not dazzling. Haruki looked at the beauty in front of her. Even in a deep sleep, this woman still exudes a unique charm. The exquisite and beautiful profile face is even more fascinating. There was a faint urge in his heart, so he lowered his head and kissed her on the forehead. Haruki smiled. She held her soft thigh with her left hand, and embraced her thin waist with her right hand. He got up, took her to the bedroom, put it gently on the bed. Take a good rest, Haruki whispered in her ear. Tsunade gave a dazed hum, then subconsciously touched his face before turning around and falling asleep. After Haruki covered her with a quilt, she returned to her room. The novel, Sword Art Online, rewarded by the system, word by word, seems to take root in the mind. As one of Neon's best-selling light novels in previous life, its classic setting and plot have a great influence. Dive into the game virtually. Haruki's tone was a little emotional. When he saw Sword Art Online, he wanted to live in the game world one day in the future. But it is a pity that until the crossing, it has not been realized. He suddenly had an idea. In the Hokage world, the soul is confirmed to exist, and there are several forbidden techniques aimed at the soul. For example, the ghouls are sealed off. The technology here is also quite partial. Although in the de facto feudal era, they have computers and even the internet. In the blog post, email has replaced animals or humans. In this case, the development of online games has become a de facto possibility. If the soul can enter the network, does it mean to dive into the game virtually? The idea is bold, but very interesting. The ghost knew how much he missed the internet and games when he came to this world. He's not sleepy anymore when he mentions this. Haruki touched his chin. The most urgent thing is to study the internet. Only with the network can there be games. As for the final virtual dive, we have to wait.